Okay, good morning. Today is August 31st, 2023. Time is now 9 a.m. I'm Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of Commissioners, and I will call this meeting to order. And if you have cell phones, if you could please silence them at this time, I'd greatly appreciate that. And if you would join us for the pledge and for the invocation. Caleb, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'd like to do it, you may.
All right, let's bow our heads in prayer. Lord, we just thank you for this county. We thank you for the beautiful mountains and the forests that we have here, the streams. We thank you for all the water that you've provided in rain and snow this year. And we just ask that for your continued blessing upon this county and upon the people that reside here. I just ask that you would guide this meeting, be here present amongst the minds that are here. Thank you for the people that have showed up to take part in this process that we have. I ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Billy, could we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Day,
Here.
Mr. Campbell,
Here.
Mr. F,
Present.
and clerk for the board, Kelly Camper.
Right, and audience introductions, I guess we'll start with you, Linda.
Lisa Bivens, Finance and Human Resources.
Okay.
Kayla Day Wetmore. Joni Liebman. Darla Stoll, Westbrook.
Jeffrey Lee.
Deb Adams. Caitlin Murdoch.
What year?
Bess Roman.
James Gilbert.
Roseanne Howlett.
John Mallett.
Mike Goodfellow from the Veteran Service Liaison with Vista Health.
Jill Anderson, Director of Development, Community Services, Vista Health. Nadine Peterson.
Tony Rashawn.
All right, thank you. And I believe we might have a couple of people online as well. If anybody goes to speak later, if they could identify themselves for the record, I would appreciate that, please. Okay, do we have any amendments to the agenda, gentlemen?
Not for me.
I understand that the Humane Society will not be here to talk to us about their proposal for a satellite shelter. So I would move that we remove that from the agenda today and put it on when they are able to come.
No, second.
Those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Okay, we have minutes for August 16th and August 23rd.
I'll move we accept the minutes as written, August 16, August 23rd.
And I will second that.
Okay, so I do have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes for August 16th and August 23rd. Those in favor of that signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries. Commissioner items, we'll let you jump in right off the bat if you want, sir.
Well, thank you. So I went and visited the landfill last week. Brian Lockhart took me around for a couple hours, showed me what was all going on there. Still don't have state approval on the bigger plan there, the 30-year, however long, 36-year plan. So, but should be getting that soon, but he's continuing to call our state leaders to get approval on that. Once that's done, we can start developing that, finalizing that. So that was good, good.
Good orientation.
Yeah, very good orientation. We're doing a good job. He's looking at things. We need to probably look at a few things from a safety standpoint. With the older, with the more mature workers that we have working there, maybe we need to look at an AED that can be shared between recycle and and landfill out there as part of our first aid plan. So just something to think about, look at, see what we need to do. And then,
He doesn't have one. I thought he did.
there's not one out there. So I'll work with public health and see if there's something that they can do, or I don't know, send it out to all the agencies and see if we have an extra one, sure, we don't have an extra one, but
Talked to Dr. Brown about it.
yeah. So I'll do that, talk to Dr. Brown about that. And then went and saw Tim and Steve yesterday with the recycle center, and they gave me the dollar tour. So that was very interesting. Those guys do a good job, and the recycle center is really impacting us from both a standpoint that we can send stuff that can be recycled out of here and prolong the life of our landfills. So all in all, I thought a pretty good plan, pretty good deal there. We do need to go out for bid or come up with option for that roof before that OSB gets any worse, so. Probably a hot ticket item.
Did you get a hold of Matt? He
I
got his
haven't
number.
got hold of him yet, but
You
I'll,
got his number.
yes,
Okay.
so I'll give him a call today, find out where we're at. Other than that, just been talking with as much staff as I can, so.
Yeah, it was dry till all that got out there in the weather, and then it started raining on it.
I know, right? If you want it to rain, put up a roof
All right,
or wash your car, one of the two.
all right.
Yeah, good deal. You've been everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of the rain, there's a lot of washouts everywhere. I've been getting some calls on culverts. I bet you have too, Kevin. And Vince, I know had some. Only thing I wanted to bring up, because we got a good agenda here, is you probably know that Roger Squires and Lillian are retiring. Does everybody know that? And Roger Squires is an icon in the county, and so is Lillian. And so I wanted to congratulate him on that and make note that, he had a successful career here all his professional life. I don't remember how many years, it was 30 plus, I think, or right at it. And so it's notable. And then he went on to serve the citizens even more for a few years with the town of Silver Cliff. So he's given up, and I guess he's going to really take a vacation. So want to think it's worth congratulating him, and Willing too, for all the service they've done as well. So congratulations to them. It might be worth thinking about sending a certificate or something from the board recognizing the service. I think would be a neat thing.
I think he probably did actually over 40 years with the county.
Yeah, way over.
So been he was with the county a long time.
Yeah, you've been working with him a long time too. All right, and other than that, I think we're pretty good. We got a lot of discussion.
All right, well, you guys are gonna make me look bad here, because I got a few things on here, just so I'll run down real quick. We have some items that are no longer being used. It's been put together in the garage out here, and there's also some things in the basement. There was a yard sale being put forth. It's nothing really that's really worth much. If it didn't go, they were gonna get this sent off to get donated. I think there's a couple old desks and a couple little pieces of furniture and some other items out here. So I thought I would bring that up because Virginia was over the other day and visiting about it, and thought I might mention it just to make sure that everybody was okay with them doing a quick yard sale. Anything that didn't go would probably go out to Brian or down to Canyon to like Goodwill or to
Like New Horizons.
New Horizons. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
It was there. I just couldn't get it out. And in regards to that, we also went downstairs. There is 50 to 60 boxes of, they say feed the children or something on them, but there is makeup, there is
wipes and toothpaste and mouthwash and
These are,
shampoo and
and
like donation kits.
they're, yeah, they're to donate to people and they're just sitting down here. I didn't know if that might be something that we might visit. I think we'd need to check and make sure they didn't belong to one of the service organizations first. But then possibly check and see if Laura, when they do their PFAP distributions, if some of that might be able to be distributed that way. It's not doing any good down here in the basement.
This basement, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can take a look at that whenever you guys want. I was gonna hit real quick, but I think Lisa's gonna bring up budget and mill levies when she talks to us, so I won't do that. TV repeaters, I want to touch on that. I've been in contact with Channel 11. Have had no response from Channel 13.
Are we gonna get more into that in the agenda?
Yeah, so we'll talk on that there. But because I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that.
Yeah.
Stephanie has requested that we put possibly a motion sensor on this outside light here, when she comes to clean at night. Very hard to see to get in this store, so I'll bring that up, and if you guys are okay with it, I'll reach out to Matt to have him do that.
Yeah, I think that's what needs to be done.
And then just to mention that I see that Matt gave us a quote on the water heater for this building. So we'll probably need to get that on the agenda. And
Yeah, that's, you'll bring it up on our next.
and we do have a letter from the Humane Society that we'll need to get that on. We might be able to put that on well, that we'll need to address come budget time. Basically a contract for next year. So they've sent that for us in preparation for our budget for the services they provide. And we have a thank you letter from the backpack project for the donation that we made to them. So I guess that went pretty well from what I understand. That's all I'm gonna have.
Yeah, seconds. You made me think of a couple things. Excuse me. There was, we have an upcoming VA budget meeting, and that's on the 11th of September. Did you get that notice to all of us? And it's going to be in Canyon. It's sponsored one. I got a frog today. And the other thing was that Mountain District meeting I did attend on Thursday was a good meeting because it brings all the counties together. That's the value of it, really. And in addition, the topics were in this meeting were what's pending legislation. So I brought back all the discussion points on that, and I think I'll pass that around and probably might think about posting some of that for the on our website so people can click into it and see what the issues are that they can expect to see coming up this November. There's some critical things like shooting on your own land kind of things that are coming up on whether how big a piece of ground they want to kind of limit it to 10 acres or something. There's a lot of discussion on that, so it affects all of us, as well as the upcoming tax proposals that are going to be to vote yes or no on. And I am going to bring in the commissioner that I brought in before to discuss the opportunity to keep our taxes as low as we can. We'll see where that's pending, and we'll get JD involved in the meeting coming up soon. Just wanted to bring that up for now.
Okay. Do you have anything for us, Kelly?
Maybe not.
All right. We have an opportunity now for public comment. If anyone has anything they'd like to comment on that's not on the agenda, now would be the time. I think I saw your hand first, Jeff.
All right, Jeffrey Lee. I would like the county commissioners to revisit the position of airport manager. I believe this can be handled by one of the two commissioners or both, Mr. Kanda or Mr. Epp. And the savings to the county would be about $20,000 annually. We are in a budget mode, a money saving mode, and so I thought this would be something we could consider.
You said operations manager, is that what you call
The
To make sure.
airport manager,
it? Oh, okay, it's the operations of the airport.
that's the technical term for it.
Yeah, the chairman of the board out there is managing the overall picture, but just want to make sure we were clear.
Mhm.
Okay, that's the paid position.
Thank you, sir. Move right on down the line, then I'll come across there and
Good morning. My name is Deb Adams. I am glad the hand of flower kissing match is officially over. Now it is time to consider where we go from here. I like Mr. F. Lucas and I have had, and I hope will continue to have, great conversations about all sorts of topics. I wish him a thick skin and a high level of tolerance in working with the dynamics and division of the county. Of course, I do not agree how we got here, but he's here, and so it is. Only time will tell by his words, deeds, and decisions if he is an honest, true leader worthy to earn the respect and trust from the community. He did that on purpose, which is an example of disrespect. That's my chair, don't sit in it. Of course, I do not agree with how we got here, but he's here, and so it is. Only time will tell by his words, deeds, and decisions if he is an honest, true leader and worthy to earn the respect and trust from the community. I want him to succeed if so. People have been saying that Mr. Kanda is more interested in holding power than in doing right by the county. His negligent behavior in handling the county manager issue was a political ploy propped up by the noise from the boo and hiss crowd. I commend Mr. Day for his composure and control as the chair of the county commissioners and hope he will continue to serve this role in 2024 as you're doing a very good job. We shouldn't have our community defined by political chaos. I want to believe we can be better, and it starts with the Board of County Commissioners working together to benefit everyone. The citizens of Custer County are entitled to have fair, ethical, and accountable local government, which has earned the public's full confidence for integrity. In keeping Custer County government's commitment to excellence, the effective function of democratic government therefore requires that 1, public officials, both elected and appointed, comply with both the letter and spirit of the laws and policies affecting the operations of government. 2, public officials be independent, impartial, and fair in their judgment and actions. 3, public office be used for the public good, not for personal gain. And 4, public deliberations and processes be conducted openly unless legally confidential in an atmosphere of respect and civility. We have to decide what is worth our time and energy, because what we engage with is what we empower. So where do we go from here? I ask that you please work together for the love of our county to make life better here for all of us, including treating each other with respect, civility, and kindness. Thank you for listening.
thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
Hi, Galen Murdoch. First thing, okay. First thing is on your motion lights, you can just get light bulbs. We have spotlights that are motion censored, so you don't have to use an electrician. They don't have them at Home Depot. You can get them on Amazon. And the second thing, why do we not have glass and plastic at the recycle center? Okay.
I will let you answer that question.
Perfect.
Great question with a great opportunity. I'm Joni Liebman, and I'm the one that wrote the grant for the recycling center. Actually, all the grants for recycling in the county since 2003. Plastic is a very difficult thing to recycle. It has, 8, 9 different numbers. They're made out of many different things. And we were able to bring plastic recycling to the county some years ago when Altitude Community Fitness was Club America. And we worked with Roots Recycling in Pueblo because they were willing to come get recycling for a fee. And then at their recycling facility, they would sort it by numbers and send it to different places all over the country to get it remanufactured into what it gets remanufactured into. What's happened in the last few years is that most of it's gone over to Asia and ended up in the ocean. And the only ones that are getting remanufactured into anything nowadays, and that's an extreme, I shouldn't say almost, mostly, I should say, affordably, is numbers 1 and 2, which is your milk cartons, your milk gallon jugs, some of your heavy bottle pop and everything. They have to be recycled separately because their components are different elements. Some of it gets into decks, furniture, carpeting, and that kind of thing. When we wrote the grant for the facility here, we did not write for a building large enough to handle plastic because we knew it was being handled at Altitude Community Fitness, and we had Roots Recycling in Pueblo nearby. We did not want to mess with a nonprofit making a little bit of revenue off of what they were paying out. So it was a fun, fundraiser for everybody, an opportunity. This year, when we started that, a bag for plastic, if any of you have purchased bags, was $1.50. It's gone, it went up to $6 over the years. It was getting ready to go up to $7, and they were only going to take number 1 and 2. And Altitude Community Fitness is a fitness club. They were not ready to deal with any of this. We discussed with the Custer County Recycling with Tim and Steve and the board, the possibility of getting plastic going at the landfill so it wouldn't stop. So when Altitude stopped doing it, it would just happen over there. But we didn't build the building big enough to put another recyclable in it. With the baler we purchased can bale plastic. We made, it's very multifaceted. We would need another facility to put plastic in, and then we would have to figure out a way to transfer it from that facility to the main facility where the baler is. Then we have to build a bigger storage unit for more bales, because plastic of all the commodities squishes down to nothing. And so to have a semi truck, 32 bales of plastic for this size county would take over a year. So we would need storage space to store that, and maybe have it hauled out once every 12 to 16 months. And then who knows if it would be a money maker or money loser. The market goes up and down. So for now, there's no plastic. It is constantly being reviewed. We meet every month. We're watching the market and what's coming up. Glass is a money loser. If you talk to Brian will tell you if any recyclable goes in the landfill, the least damaging is glass because it gets smashed down. It doesn't get smashed down to sand particles, but very close to it. You can recycle glass in Pueblo, and you can recycle number 1 and 2 in Pueblo if you separate it. It's for free. City and county has it on Stockyard Road called Pueblo Recycle Works. It would be great if you want to do that when you go shopping and keep it out of the landfill, because the landfill is filling up really fast, which and then we're done. Glass, $100,000 hammer mill machine has to be outside. You can't grind it indoors because the particles in the air. We'd have to pour a slab. We'd have to have an open air canopy cover. And then we'd have to have somewhere to store it till we build an 18-wheeler that has a bottom open to take it to Denver, even Molson Coors, or the other facility, that you jump it in and it won't pay the hauling charge.
Just most of my trash, so then I feel that when it's going into landfill.
There are people driving to Pueblo, and I can give you their name because they say if anybody wants to load up on my truck when I go down there, let me know. So I know it's a lengthy answer, but it's an opportunity to.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good answer.
Okay, thank
Thanks,
you.
Tony, for answering that. Yeah.
My name is Jim Wilder. I'd first like to say, Commissioner Chairman, Commissioner Duff, we're handling the situation we have in that we both agree that it is not necessary. And it's just the strategy of the new administration. Thank you for saving the county. On that. Mr. Day, you follow shutting down to this. One of the last meeting I attended, spoke up. Or the county manager, about a dozen of us spoke out bad that we did what we have to say. You two gentlemen agree with this. We don't have your ears. They don't listen to us. I'd like to read something. I, Kevin Day, due to the fact that I care deeply for the residents of Custer County, of whom I represent, in order to take the high road, the gentleman's road, and in order to save the taxpayers' money, unnecessary recall, do hereby resign my position as county commissioner of Custer County, Colorado. There are 3 copies, sir. I'm sorry I don't have carbon paper. You'll need to sign all 3 of them.
Thank you.
Yeah, spend more money. Am I next?
You may be next, ma'am.
I appreciate what you said. I've worked, I'm gonna have to read this because I stay under 3 minutes. I've worked with many county employees and commissioners since the early 2000s, when I began writing grant proposals as a volunteer on behalf of the county, specifically related to the landfill and recycling, waste diversion. Most of my involvement was with 3 different now 3 different human service directors and finance officers, their staff, and the many BOCC administrative assistants that have come and gone. And there have been many. It has been a pleasure, but it has been so frustrating as I've experienced their work being negatively affected as commissioners would come and go and the system would change per new commissioners. I was looking forward to working with the county manager. First and foremost, that in my opinion was a wise decision and a money saving decision. That cover or support or erase, I guess the word is, the many inadequacies and inconsistencies that keep coming up when there's an election and a new commissioner that sees business differently or being done differently. I thought I understood why it took the many months, and it was many months, that the proposed change to be decided upon for a county manager. I know it was at least 6 to 8 months that it was being discussed. That I thought, well, it's giving the commissioners time to research it, look at other counties, of which, by the way, only 5 counties do not have a county manager in the state. And you can look at all the other 60 or 59 counties, why they have a county manager and how it's saving their money. I figured you were all researching that. And then I found out that, in fact, Commissioner Day and Commissioner Flower had done that. And they had reviewed it and they had come up with a decision. And the reason why all 3 of you hadn't voted on it was because Commissioner Kanda had a tiger team that was going to put this report together from his super management international high top administrators that was going to recommend so that you all 3 could look at those recommendations. But that report turned out bogus and never came to be. So I was glad you finally made a decision without waiting more than 6 to 8 months. It appeared to be a stall tactic from my perception, but that's my perception only. But then within a week or two, that position was eliminated. You were on board for 2 days. I'm hoping that you had reviewed all the information that Kevin, Commissioner Day, and former Commissioner Flower had pulled together before you made your decision. So now the county is having to pay 45 grand for breaching the contract, which I know former Commissioner Kanda knew was going to happen. And that's on top of the 50 grand that you had the county pay last year, Commissioner Kanda, because you didn't like what the Tribune said about you personally and didn't go with the low bid and higher circulation to have the legals published. That was already finished in court and the county had to pay it. So now we're at 95 grand that's been paid within 12 months by what I consider not wise decision making. So what I'm asking today is a new leave, a clean plate, that the commissioners will make decisions based on fact and not personal biases. They will be what is best for the county, everybody, not just some or their friends. I am hoping that the commissioners will be respectful, pragmatic, open-minded, honest, thoughtful, with decisions being made when all the needed information is reviewed and not stalled out. And if needed, you will seek out other information and not just from your buddies, but from experts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Around the subject.
I'll give you a brief one. You've already spoke once, but
Yeah.
I will allow it this time, but if you could make it brief, thank
Thank
you.
you. I have a question first for our new commissioner.
Yes, sir.
I would like to know if you think a person can be an effective leader, make sound decisions on matters like policy and personnel, if the driving force behind those decisions are anger and revenge.
No,
Can you be a sound leader and make good decisions?
I can do
Driving
that.
force is anger and revenge.
My driving force is not anger or revenge.
My hypothetical question.
Oh, hypothetically.
Okay.
No, you couldn't. If you were angry or you were emotionally compromised, you wouldn't be able to make very sound decisions.
Can I make a quick statement then?
Yes.
All right. Personally, I believe you were elected to back Bill's play. I also believe that the recall of Commissioner Flower, the firing of Braden Wilson were driven by revenge. I predict that you will find yourself in the same situation if you fail to back Bill's play. As you have seen, Commissioners Day and other county employees are now under attack by the Sentinel, their subscribers, and Bill's backers. Failure to back Bill or challenging his behavior results in recalls, firings, as we have recently witnessed.
And costs to the county.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Look online. Not seeing any hands online. Okay, thank you for those. Oh, go ahead.
I've only been here, I've been here about 8 years now and observed the board of commissioners for that period. And as far as I'm concerned, Board of Commissioners for a county government ought to, not ought to, its role is to govern and direct and form the direction of the county into the future. Administration of the day-to-day operations of the county is an abstraction and should not be really a focus of the commissioner's job. The commissioners should be creatively thinking and critically thinking of forward-looking policy, forward-looking plans, and approaches to improving the lives of the members of the county. I have heard or seen no plans, no policies that look forward from this Board of Commissioners, regardless of who's on it. It's time for you guys to understand that critical thinking is gathering information and forming an opinion and acting upon those opinions. You don't form an opinion and look for information to support that opinion. It's the other way around. It's time for you as officers of the county to work for the county, not for yourselves or not for loud groups or ill-informed or misinformed thought processes. The time of backstabbing and bad-mouthing staff and colleagues is gone. The time for bickering amongst each other is gone. The time for cooperation is here. The approach to treatment of Braden Wilson was appalling. You put him in a position where he was enthusiastically moving forward and then cut his legs off. You ought to be admonished for that. And if we ask anyone to resign, it is not Kevin Day. It is not Mr. F. The person that needs to resign is the person that violates his oath, violates the Constitution, and acts in his own interest. So let's stop asking for resignations and let's let them get to work, and please get to work.
Thank you.
Say one.
Go ahead.
And Bartha, I sit here and listen to all of these admonishments to the county commissioners. And at the end, you're asking for them to work together and do this, when in return, these are all personal opinions, not based on fact. And I want to make sure that that's part of the record, and let these people go. Let them do their jobs. To say anger
No retorts, please.
and revenge is not a fact.
Thank you, Ann.
Kevin.
Thank you.
I think it's
I've let
time-
somebody else speak twice. Go ahead.
I think it's time, those of you that feel admonished today, those of us that have felt admonished in the past, maybe it's time we set an example for the commissioners, and maybe we talk together and we listen and show how it can be done. It's
And-
time. It's time for us to take out our biases.
And Joni, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to address
Okay.
the board here.
Okay, I'm sorry. So the other thing I wanted to say is when you chose to remove the position of Human Service Director, it went to Lisa Bivens, the Administrative Director. Had you thought about what would happen if she resigned or refused that position? Did you plan to fill that position immediately? You are in a week or a week and a half of having a state audit. Is it a state audit or a federal audit?
We're in the middle of it right now.
You're in the middle of an audit now. You are on August 31st, when your payroll and your bills are due. When you remove the position of county administrator, you put it on her. What if she said, I'm not doing it? Did you plan for that? You did plan for that. I would appreciate knowing that you had a back plan.
Thank you. I think that's all. Go ahead.
In all due respect. Jim McMahon. This is just an observation. Did you run as a Republican, Christian man? Is that your image? Don't say a word.
Yes, I did.
Everybody in here that's kind of backing you and against Bill. You kind of see how that kingdom is established in each of you?
What if you're Jewish?
No. Wait,
Joni, no, please,
So you,
no response. Hang on one second. No responses, retorts. This is a public comment. You're allowed some time. And like I told her, you're going to need to address the board. So don't address the crowd. Thank you.
yeah. It's just very revealing to me. The belief system that is in that particular crowd, as opposed to the belief system in another particular crowd. How they support you. And attack him. Just an observation. That's all. And it's kind of, that's. So thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else here in the room? This is the last call.
Can I say something?
I'm checking online here. Who do I have?
Len Arrigo.
Yes.
Okay, I just have questions. Maybe I've been misinformed. And if I've misinterpreted things, then I'd like to be corrected. But first of all, it's my understanding that first of all, when Commissioner Flower was voted out, it was because of what he had done with the payment with his wife. And also with his behavior with Jackie Hobby that is resulting in a lawsuit that is potentially going to cost the county $1 million or more. If I'm and the voters spoke there, and they voted him out. So that's the voters speaking. Secondly, when it came to the county manager, it's my understanding that we wanted to do a study to say, do we need one? And as county managers, you had agreed to allow Mr. Candid to put a group together and listen to what they had to say. And then once he made his presentation, you would make a selection or make a determination based upon that. Then the last thing is then when you did decide to have a county manager, that you were supposed to put it out to advertise it to where you would get the best candidate. And it's my understanding that that's not the way it happened. What happened is that Braden Wilson wrote his own job description, and it was something that was done behind closed doors and where he was pre-picked by Commissioner Day and Commissioner Flower, and it was rushed through knowing that Commissioner Flower was being recalled. And with all that said, and with my understanding, that's why I completely, as a citizen who've been here for a long time, objected to the way it was handled. Now, if I have misunderstood the facts, I'd like to be corrected, because it seems to me the whole county manager, and I'm not saying we needed one or didn't need one, I'm saying we didn't follow the proper process like we agreed to. And you still didn't. And yet now we've got people that are saying different things that are contradicting at least what my understanding is. So for the record, I'd like to understand, what are the facts? Could you respond to that, please?
Not at this time, but you are more than welcome to come in and visit. And because this is a public comment, this is not a back and forth at this time. But
But
you're
you
more
did ask me to address the commissioners, and I did address you.
Yeah.
And so to the public ought to know what the facts are. So would you
They
please?
have been gone over multiple times, sir. This is not a back and forth. Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Thank you. Anyone else? Ma'am,
Joy Anderson. Can I ask then from somebody who's also trying to figure out the facts? What's the best source you would recommend for us finding out those facts? Because I don't think everybody can have a private one-on-one conversation with you.
you may, if you would like to come in and visit with me, you're more than welcome. I will give you every fact that I have from my perspective. You're welcome to visit with Commissioner Kanda. His perspective is different than mine. You may visit with our lawyer, our attorney. I would make that available because as far as the protocols that were or were not followed, and that is all available. And if in a situation like that, that would be something where I would need to set something up with him, because it would not be a one-on-one. He is not taking calls from individual citizens. So. Right now, you have something further?
Is it possible to set up a committee that actually looks into both sides of the facts and comes up with a report?
If you guys would like to do something like that, I don't believe there's any plans here to do that. If you guys would like to do your own investigation, you are more than welcome to do that.
I just think there's been a lot of harm in the community by not knowing what are the facts. And I think it's going to continue until that's resolved. And that's something that I think really matters to this community for it to grow stronger. We all need to know. I'm tired of reading two sides of this stupid newspaper that has their own perspective. I'd like it to be something that's more neutral.
Thank
That's
you.
all.
Okay. I'll let you speak again. Yes. Yes, I'm going.
Commissioner Day?
Yes, go ahead. I apologize.
He hadn't spoken.
Oh, you haven't either. My apologies, sir.
Oh, that's fine, no problem. Actually, I don't know exactly where we are in the process. I thought the meeting was to start at 9:30, and that's why I was 15 minutes late.
Meetings do start at 9, sir.
At 9, okay, I'm sorry, I was wrong on that then. So, and I don't know what transpired before I got here, but I think this will be germane to what I have to say in light of what has transpired so forth.
Did you identify the story?
And for the record, my name is Matt Miles. And one of the things I'd like to do initially is say that Ms. Adams had a lot of wise comments. There were a lot of wisdom in her comments about following the law and so forth and so on, and how things are supposed to be done. So I want to go back and review just a little bit about what occurred. Recall election, and first the petition. Gross failure to follow the law. Had to have a lawsuit, a big bunch of brouhaha, and a court determined, nope, the law was not followed here in Custer County. It was done wrong, allowing the signature to be withdrawn and everything else. It was inappropriate, improper, and caused major division in this county. The gross failure to follow the law. Now, let me get started with the county manager. The statutes in this state address what was supposed to have been done with the county manager. And it's Colorado statutes 24-6-402. That's the law in this state. Section 3.5, close paren. And when the people that are sitting up there in this county commission took their position, they took an oath. And the oath says very simply, I do affirm, swear, or whatever, that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Colorado, and the laws of the State of Colorado, and will faithfully perform the duties of the office. Everyone that's elected takes that oath, and they have to follow the law. That's what they're duty bound to do. That was reaffirmed in resolution 22-17 of the Custer County resolutions. 22-17. The board acknowledges it has a fiduciary and ethical responsibility to the public trust. And that was signed by Kevin Day, William Kanda, and Tommy G. Flower. I would suggest that one of the reasons Mr. Flower is no longer here is because he violated that he signed in numerous ways, very simply. Now, let me get on to the county manager thing. And it was addressed here by, I don't remember who.
And if you could speed it up, you're well over your 3 minutes, but I'm gonna let you finish if you can, please.
A search committee was supposed to be formed. And I think this young lady asked about that. There was supposed to be a search committee. Who was on the search committee? What are their names? When was it formed? When was the resolution passed that formed the search committee? When was the search committee tasked with doing what they were supposed to do, which is that search committee shall, it doesn't say may, might, or whatever. This is the law. It shall establish job search goals, including the writing of the job description, deadlines for application, requirements for applicants, selection procedures, and the time frame for appointing or employing a chief executive officer of this county. Where are those things that were done? Where are they? What happened is very simple. The commission took it upon itself, 2 of the 3, to just rubber stamp Braden Wilson into that job. And that's why this county is mad. They don't want that done. They know the law, a lot of them. If they don't know it exactly and explicitly, they know it by implication. And they know the law was not followed in connection with Mr. Wilson. I would suggest it's going to take a long time to go back through and determine exactly what happened with Mr. Wilson. But I would suggest there's at least one thing in the open records law, somewhere in the law that was not followed, that culminated in Mr. Wilson being appointed to that position when his contract was signed by the chair of this commission. I would suggest that that signature was improper, and I would suggest that that contract is a nullity, that he should have never been appointed to that position because the procedures weren't followed. And I would suggest that he should have never obtained that check from the county treasurer.
Thank you.
D. Hall.
Okay, I don't see anyone else online. All right. We will move on to new business. First item on our agenda is the consideration of the accounts payable and the out-of-cycle checks. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, guys.
Morning.
And everyone should have gotten those.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions on either one of those. Let's go to the, what was the first one on our list? You guys, let me see.
Are we doing out of cycle or right one?
The ones that we have to approve, it's not the payroll, but the AP and the out of sight. Well, then let's address the AP first.
That is not okay. What's going on over here? It's simply not okay.
Take your conversation outside.
We are conducting a meeting in here. If you guys would like to visit, you're welcome to step outside. If otherwise, please keep
Sit
it
down and
down.
be quiet.
Please.
That lady was just talking to me and I
Okay.
don't know why she's talking to me.
Okay, at the present time, we are conducting a meeting. If you have, anyone needs to visit or talk among themselves or any other comments, take it outside, please. I've let this kind of conduct go on way too long. And I'm gonna start putting a stop to it, so any outside conversations that do not pertain, or if you're not invited to speak at that time, take it outside, and I'm speaking to the entire room here. Is that clear? And now you may speak to answer that question. Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
thank you.
AP report. I did not see anything that I wanted to address here today.
I'm good. I move we accept the AP report. What's the bottom line?
Bottom line would be. Let me get there. Total for the AP is $861,006.03. I would second that motion. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the accounts payable in the sum of $861,006.03. Discussion. Okay. Anything from you? Okay, those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. And the next one we would have would be the out of cycle checks. That's the one-page document you have.
And I move that we accept that as presented, $2,953.98.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to approve the out of cycle checks in the sum of $2,953.98. Any discussion on that?
Sir.
That being the case, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. That was pretty
Short and sweet.
short and sweet on those.
Perfect.
And now the next item we have is a discussion with the HR finance. I've asked her to visit with us for a few minutes in regards to her plans moving forward.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So rather than waiting until next week to go through a report, I wanted to give you just a weekly, just this week's update as to how I feel that finance and HR, we're gonna shift gears a little bit. So other than, just doing the typical HR issues, workers' comp, insurance, payroll, accounts payable this past week. Some of the things that I felt that was very important to do this week as well. So I've renewed our airport liability policy and I will be forwarding that to the airport. I'll send it to Clyde today. And also I've renewed our detentions liability policy and I'll be sending that to the sheriff as well.
both of those binders were signed and accepted yesterday. So that was good. I've also become a member of the Colorado Government Finance Officers Association. Within this association, it is a great tool for any and all things finance, law changes. It's a great networking tool for me and any kind of question that I might have regarding, what can we spend, what can we not spend, sort of thing. But I did attend via Zoom the Government Accounting Immersion Series. It's the second series of a 3-series program yesterday, and it was a 4-hour program. Huge takeaways from that. And what was great about that class was not only going over what I've already learned from the first series, but delving into it deeper, making sure that this will all go hand in hand with our audits and, our account management and, just making sure moving forward with our budget, things are going to be put where it's supposed to be put. So, so I did that yesterday and felt very good about that. And there's a short description of the class that I've included on your sheet. Another really important thing that I touched on was I've created a budget timeline. And I know that has been at the forefront of the county's minds just because we're getting close. So what I would like to do, and I was told it was a lofty goal yesterday, but if we can't have lofty goals, what can we have, right? But I'm going to shoot for it. And I think with the network of people that I have arranged to help me with this, I think it's very obtainable. I really do. So I will have our budget worksheets and they'll be distributed to all the departments in September. And the budget worksheets, I'm assuming, and I've got to talk to a few other people just to confirm what is the most essential pieces that they need to have. But everyone will have a copy of all of their line items. They're going to have to decide where the bottom line is going to be. So we'll provide that kind of information to them so they can move forward and trying to plan their budget accordingly. I would like to plan our budget hearings the first week of October. So it's a month, I think we can do this. And we do have a little hiccup because there's that that proposition HH that is going to be on the ballot on November 7th. That is the only thing that I can see that would push us a little further in our approval of our budget if those money numbers change. So I've been working closely with JD and he's aligned me with some people as far as mill levies are concerned and how that's going to play into these numbers as well. But I would like to have the final budget approved by the BOCC by November 30th, that last meeting of the month. So I think we can have a shot at this. And I'm super, super excited to tell you. And I was invited to consult with Sam DiNardo. And for those of you who don't know, he is our lead CPA for Garen, Ross, and DiNardo. They are our county auditors. And he is an absolute whiz with this stuff. I trust him implicitly. He's done an excellent job managing our audits. And so I'm going to be talking to him on Tuesday. And we're going to get this ball rolling. So that's about the budget. I also have a contact. She is one of the lead instructors for the Colorado Financial Officers Association. Her name is Karen Sliver, and she is willing to help me as well if I should need a second opinion on any kind of a decision being made on what moves we should make as far if it's super tight. So we'll have that.
If I may interrupt you
Yes,
for a
yes,
second,
sir.
just kind of a quick comment on some of this that you've covered so far. I'm glad that you have those people to consult with and that you have joined and have started getting some training, I would highly encourage. You have been on board for a while, but there are things that you would need to be able to consult with, and I appreciate that. And any training or classes or anything like that, I would highly, that you feel that you need, I would highly encourage you to pursue that.
Thank you.
To go ahead and further your knowledge and to be able to help and do this. So I just wanted
Okay,
to
well, I appreciate
speak to that right now.
I'm all over that too. I've got a whole list of things that I'm trying to work into my schedule, so I think that will be great. So that being said, so the budget timeline, I think I've got a pretty good grasp on how I want that to look. I did meet with Sheriff Smith and the undersheriff this past week. We've discussed strategies regarding both HR and finance with their department, and I think we're really headed in the right direction with them. So I look forward to bridging the infamous gap between county government and the sheriff's department. I'm excited to see how that goes. I think it will be really nice. So let's see here. I plan on hiring an HR and finance assistant in the next couple weeks. I feel that it's super important that I have a second person with me, kind of fielding, the day-to-day, so I can be concentrating on these really important tasks that are coming up. It keeps, my accuracy on top of my game by not being so overloaded, and keeping things at a manageable level. And I would also like to just mention that right now, the way the HR has been working is that it's essentially been an open door. People just can come in, and it's not so much, some are putting out real, documented complaints. Others choose not to. And although everybody's opinions and issues matter to me, we need to, it's more of a time issue at this point. So I would like to restructure the way that HR is being handled. So everything is handled discreetly and professionally. I will be implementing appointments only. If someone is serious about lodging a complaint, they'll be willing to take the time and make an appointment, and we're going to document it for us, for a liability standpoint for the county. And then they will have a documentation to safeguard them as well. So I think going forward, I think it will be a much better process. It will cover us a lot further. If anything should be serious enough to move forward, we just can't have hearsay, we have to have documentation. So that is one thing that I'll be really kind of driving home in the next week or two, getting that word out there, because as it is now, it's still that open door policy, and a 10-minute conversation can last up an hour and a half, and nothing's resolved, and they don't want to file a complaint, and then then we're out an hour and a half. So that's what I'm going to try to clean up a little bit. And then just on the very end of this little report, I just wanted to make people, all three of you, aware that any severance check that was put out was not listed on any report that we have available. Those are the numbers on there if you have any questions about those numbers, but that's been taken care of. And if you have any more questions, you can see me. I can pull it. Unfortunately, it was an out of cycle payroll report, not an AP report. So that's why it's not on a report.
Okay, let me have a comment here real quick.
Sure.
I applaud you on the budget stuff. You're doing the right thing.
Thank you.
And I think you can beat November the 30th.
I hope you're right.
I really do. And because based on last year, and I know the system's gotten better, and
Yes.
you're more familiar, and so are all the county employees.
Yes.
So that's good. Also regarding the HR process,
Yes.
and when we get a chance, I'll make this statement to clear up the air too. The option that was never presented will be presented on the 13th of September. We're gonna have a meeting, I'm gonna schedule that. To do an all hands to explain what was missed that never has had the opportunity to present.
Okay.
And part of that, you have to look at the bigger picture. Who does the policy making? It's the commissioners deciding, but the people in the county, our employees are there to build that and with their expertise.
Mhm.
You are overloaded. You right now, I think the HR finance job has gotten bigger. When Donna Hobby was here,
Mhm.
it was a lot smaller, a lot less people and more informal. And but she never missed a time. And I said, Lisa and I, we sat down and had this discussion. She never missed a day or a time when she would remind somebody that a performance review is ready,
Right.
or she was on the spot when we were doing applications for new people to get the packages together and all that.
Mhm.
Given we've grown, and given there's a need to keep this county from being sued.
I agree.
That's being sued left and right. And it's not done, as somebody brought up earlier. So I, as part of the way forward, I'm going to put in a couple, and by the way, we won't, the meeting that was held on the 23rd was when the county manager was brought in. On the 16th, 16th in Wetmore. So that position only existed for 5 days, I think.
Right, 5 days.
And he was on vacation for one of those, I think. And so the bottom line was, we needed some time to understand those numbers that you pointed
Yeah,
out.
I agree.
So that's the point on the bottom of the agenda. I want to discuss that.
Right.
And I want to understand some things there. When he resigned as finance manager, for example, was he paid up then any date, or what were the PTO and all that part of what he was due as an employee for finance? Or was it the county manager only?
Mhm.
So if you calculated PTO at 600, I'll go through the numbers
Yeah,
and
yeah.
explain that. And it needs to be public. So why don't we wait until the discussion at the end of the meeting, so it's all one package.
Okay.
So I just wanted to let you know, I'm going to need some answers.
Yeah.
If you
Got
can come back or stay, well, you're going to stay there at the
I'm
meeting
just-
anyway. That's good. And so given that, I think we do need a full-time position for HR, and I think we're going to have a discussion on that later.
Okay.
To somebody's comment earlier, how soon we need to hit the ground running and making sure we do straighten up how we manage
Right.
and do it correctly. So we need to look at those positions and hiring. And I like the fact that you may need somebody in that position for finance. Maybe it's helping with that in HR, maybe it's a full-time HR position. Some things we need to discuss, but I'm glad you see that.
Yeah.
And I know, just so you, for the record, Lisa has had HR experience in a private sector, I believe.
Mhm.
And so
Department.
she, in the police department. So she's used to following the letter of the law. So we want to make sure that's the case. And I'll explain some of what happened to the check and how the letter of the law was or was not
Yeah.
followed
Agreed.
here at so the public's on the record, and full disclosure is the right thing to do. We don't need executive sessions to do a lot of this, and the people
Right.
need to see what's going on.
Right.
So we'll discuss that in a little
Sounds
bit.
good.
But thanks for doing a great job
Oh, thank
of
you.
grabbing a hold.
I'm sure trying. I just wanna, like I told you in our meeting, I just want our county to succeed, and I want, I just want it to be a great place to be. You know, that's all I want.
Our goal is to make it one team, and that
That's-
means clear to the janitors, to the SAR people, to every person here. And in some cases, the most important person in the county is who?
The janitor.
The janitors. You can't do your job, but you can't stay in the room and do it.
That's right.
Okay, thanks.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
What do you enjoy doing more, the HR part of it or the finance part of it? What brings you more satisfaction in your job?
As of late, probably the finance portion. Because it's been pretty turbulent as far as HR.
Okay.
Over the last year or so. And you know, as Bill mentioned, we have to do the letter of the law. There's only so much we can do. And a lot of resolutions are, it's based on, you know, a department head and that employee ultimately. So, depending on how that's handled, and that's where I stay out of it, you know, if there were, you know, let's say hypothetically, if there was a complaint, you know, we would, and they wanted to lodge a complaint that was formal. I would write up my report, I would talk to the director. And then we would go from there, we would kind of have a plan of attack, so it's frustrating if those things would happen and nothing is resolved. So that's frustrating to me, but but again, I mean, I enjoy helping people get through a rough spot too. It's just very time consuming. That's it.
Thank you for doing both, right?
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, thanks for the report.
You got anything else that you would like to?
I think so. Just day-to-day operations, managing, just keeping the ship moving along.
I would just like to say thank you, and your efforts have been greatly appreciated. They really have.
I just want to get everybody paid and I just want to make sure everybody thinks are good.
Checks are out today, right?
Checks are out and ready. So we're good.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Lisa. We have, next item would be the consideration of the proclamation for Suicide Prevention Month, beginning tomorrow. September is Suicide Prevention Month, and let me find my proclamation. We have been asked to put out a proclamation from the county by Sol Vista. They are reaching out to all of the counties that they serve, trying to get something to that effect. And so I have before me here, and I'll read it out real quick. Custer County, Colorado, a proclamation declaring September as Suicide Prevention Month. Whereas suicide is a leading cause of death, with one death happening every 11 minutes. And whereas 12.3 million people seriously considered suicide, 3.5 million made plans for, and 1.7 million attempted suicides. And whereas Americans with higher than average rates of suicide are veterans and people who live in rural areas. And whereas suicide and suicide attempts cause serious emotional, physical, and economic impacts. And whereas suicide is often decreased with family and community support, and having access to healthcare can decrease suicidal thoughts and behaviors. And whereas Sol Vista Health is recognized as our county leader, working to prevent suicide on a daily basis. And Custer County is proud to join forces with Sol Vista Health in suicide prevention by formally recognizing their efforts and supporting the ongoing work of prevention in Custer County. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed by the County Commissioners of Custer County that September 2023 is hereby designated as National Suicide Prevention Month in Custer County. County Commissioners do urge all people of Custer County to become educated on suicide prevention, awareness, and support those affected by suicide during this month and throughout the year. And I would move that we adopt this proclamation and sign it here this morning, gentlemen.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to adopt this proclamation declaring September as Suicide Prevention Month. Discussion.
I think it's a good thing. Right.
Any public comment on this? Yes, sir. Oh, I forgot you guys were in the room. If you guys would like
Let
to
us
speak
talk.
to that, please, by all means.
Conversations, it's been an exciting commissioner meeting. I'm Brian Turner, I'm the executive director for Soul Business Health. As the proclamation mentioned, for a nonprofit mental health and substance use provider organization, we've been serving Custer, Fremont, Chaffey, and Lake counties for over 60 years. I had the pleasure of being a part of presenting this proclamation in front of the Fremont County Board of Commissioners last week. I can tell you it was nowhere near as exciting a meeting. Two members of the public showing up for that one. I was impressed to see it back down for this meeting. Thank you for your support for this resolution. I'm joined by Jill Anderson, who's our fundraising and development manager, so this and Michael Goodfall, who's our veteran service liaison. We're really excited to have just recently brought Michael on board thanks to a grant that we received. As the proclamation indicated, suicide is a leading cause of death in this country, United States. Unfortunately, is one of the leaders in the world for its suicide rates. The Rocky Mountain West within this country leads for highest suicide rates. Colorado, in particular, our mountain communities are highest within the Rocky Mountain West. And when you look at the individual level of where we're seeing the highest rates of suicide, it includes middle-aged men and even dicing that more specifically, it includes veterans. That's the highest, unfortunately, having the highest rates of suicide. So you think about what that means. Veterans in our rural communities, in this part of the world, these are the highest rates. And so we are really excited to have Michael on board, and excited to work with the BSO here in Custer County. That we have a grant to support advancing this work and trying to do something about suicide. And you can, and having the commissioner's support behind efforts that we know can work to get people better connected to the care that they need and deserve is a huge step in the right direction. So thank you for your support for the proclamation, and for commissioners and everybody here, please reach out to Soul Vista if you have questions, ever need support, or interested in getting any of the training that was mentioned in the proclamation. We're really happy to be a part of it.
My apologies. I knew you were in the room and I should have let you present this proclamation. You would have been a lot better reading it than I did. But thank you. Did you?
I just wondered if it'd be possible to take a photo together. Is that possible?
I believe we could probably do that. How about if, given the time right now, how about if we take a short recess? We can do a quick photo with you that would get everybody a chance to stretch their legs before we continue our business, and we will reconvene in approximately 5 minutes. feet off.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Oh, I get it pretty hard.
Yeah, the northern part.
All right, if everybody could take their seats, please, we'll get started again. If we can take our seats again, we'll get started, please. Okay, the time is now 10:30 a.m. I will reconvene this meeting of the Custer County Board of Commissioners. We did recess the meeting briefly. We do have a motion on the floor still. The motion is to approve the proclamation declaring September as Suicide Prevention Month. Any further discussion here today?
No, sir.
None here.
Any public comment? Sir,
I just wanted to say that, the suicide rate of veterans is at 22 a day unless it has changed. The gentleman is not here anymore. It's 22 a day, so it is important. The veteran services are important.
very much so, sir. Thank you. Not seeing any hands online. Those in favor then of approving the proclamation declaring September as Suicide Prevention Month signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion does carry.
Can we applaud that one?
You may. Kelly, we'll need to have a new one made up. We need to get fixed the signature line. And then we can sign that later. Okay, our next item would be the introduction of Christy Schramm. Did I pronounce that correctly? And if she's not here.
I sent her a agenda in case she could get her to
Yeah, I thought she said that too yesterday.
I do not see her on. How about if let's bypass that if someone could get a hold of her. If you don't mind, if you would run over and ask her. Let's go ahead and go to our next item up. And then we'll get her when she comes. Consideration of increase in salary for the road and bridge employees. And I believe we have a spreadsheet that we have received on that. And then Vince, I think I saw you come in. If you'd like to come to the circle. How are you?
Good.
And if you want to pull a chair up, you're welcome to, Vince, right here. We won't make you stand.
I can stand.
Stand for it.
Give it a second while we pull up your spreadsheet. Got everything you need?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I want to give all the employees across the board, supervisors and down, pay raise. I think the guys and the lady that works in the office deserve it. They work hard. I have a good crew and they deserve a pay raise. I don't have any problems with them. And so that's why I think they deserve a pay raise, plus the cost of living. Some of the people are struggling a little bit to make ends meet with the employees. And I deserve, they need it. Or I'm gonna lose some of them. And you guys know as well, especially Kevin, since he's been in Road and Bridge, when you have to retrain somebody, on a piece of equipment, you usually get it broke or tore up. Retraining. If I can keep the crew I got now, I don't have to retrain. And I don't have liability on equipment failure. Because they all know what to do. And the guys are all triple trained, double trained on all equipment. I can put anybody on anything that I have now.
Can you speak? I'll start this, and anybody that has a question, feel free to jump in as well. Here. Can you speak to the finances of this?
Yes, I'm not borrowing any money from, I'm gonna call it the kitty or the piggy bank. This is all coming out of my payroll. Was approved by you guys in 2023. I will have extra money left over in payroll. If I need to, I can hire another employee.
And you can, and you're planning to come to the board when we do the budget cycle to make sure it's sustainable.
Yeah, I did a estimate on the new salary raise, what it will be cost for next year's salary budget.
Okay, just for the public record, I've looked at this in detail previously, and you've heard me talk about the need for keeping good people here. It's hard to do when the payroll schedule for the road and bridge, this is for the public, is the lowest paid guy at what's the
17.34 an hour is starting wage.
Right, there's $17.40 an hour to get somebody coming out of school, truck driving school, who go to work for an over the road hauler and make $80,000 a year is hard to compete with. To keep and raise a family here in the county. Same with the sheriff's budget, same with a lot of other budgets. We need to look at the cost of living and make things happen. So I applaud you for that.
Well, right now, if you was to get a class A CDL, it's $8,100 for class A with tanker endorsement. That's their out-of-pocket expense. The employee coming to work here does not have one. But our policy is you have to have a CDL and a tanker endorsement to come to work for Road and Bridge.
So each employee has $8,100 out of pocket to come and.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Or they have to get it within a short amount of time. I would
Yes.
take it, right?
Yep.
Okay, the only concern I have is you have 3 vacancies right now.
I filled one.
You filled one already.
Yep.
We plan to fill those other 2. Is that included in?
Okay, the one vacancy is a mechanic position, assistant mechanic. I talked to the primary mechanic, Daniel, and I asked him 3 weeks ago, I says, can you handle all the mechanic work with sheriff's department, landfill, planning and zoning, road and bridge? And he said, yes, and I have a part-time mechanic, he's got his own route, but he comes in and helps Daniel, part-time mechanic. And right now, Daniel and Jeff are all caught up. The only thing they're broke down is a grader and waiting on parts. Everything else is caught up.
The only other concern I have is, I know you double up on whatever it takes to make roads happen. And at the expense of doing other things as the county road supervisor has to do, and it's hard to do. So I want to make sure that the billets are filled as best they can to make sure you're free to do the greatest job you can possibly do.
Yeah, all my paperwork is caught up
Right.
to date.
So that's important. And it's important to spend the money that the citizens give us, every dime of it, on those roads that are allocated to it, and more if we can get it. So as long as you've got the crew to do that.
Yeah, I got
that's
the crew.
important.
Nope. And I get out and help. You guys all know that. I can run any piece of equipment down
My
there.
point was,
And
but you're not doing something else that might be important too,
But-
but it's great that you can do.
yeah, and I'm a working foreman. I'm just gonna be blown. I don't like office work. But
Who does?
I do my office work, but I like to be out with the guys. And
I'm not asking you to do office work. I'm asking you, and there's some things we gotta make sure that he goes to the CCI meetings and those kinds of things as well.
Yeah, because you haven't been to the cars that happens the same time CCI does, have you?
All the county
Since you've been in
road
it.
supervisors.
That would be very beneficial,
Yeah.
probably for you
Scott.
and Scott, and possibly your be Kurt down there and
Yeah.
whatnot as well. If you could carve time out for you guys to do that. It always snows during that meeting. But if you trust your guys, you don't have to run right
I don't
back
have to
over
worry
you.
about it.
I've
They know what
I've
to
seen
do.
that happen.
They know what to do.
So. And I guess, let me throw it over to you.
So just for the public's knowledge, what he's asking for here in cost of living increases or raises. They would pay about half of that. Class A license over the course of a year. So it'd take them 2 years to get reimbursed for that license.
When they don't get reimbursed now, that's out of their
Right,
pocket.
right, but by this rate, would
Yeah.
only reimburse half of it, or would take 2 years to
Yeah.
fully reimburse what they've put into this.
Yeah.
And I believe you stated you wanted to give them a raise, but I don't believe you stated a dollar amount, correct?
Who?
$2 an hour. Okay. And I knew that, but I'm asking the question so that everybody's aware of what we're talking about here. And you did state that it's coming out of your line item that was approved in our budget for your salaries.
Yep.
And the reason I had you come before us is because we didn't. This is a raise that wasn't specifically approved in that budget. The line item was, you've got the money in your line item, but this was a out of cycle raises of what you're asking for.
Yes.
That's why I had you come before us, because of that fact.
And did you prepare a resolution to do that? Do we need one to do that, Lisa?
I'll have to double check, but I don't think.
We're not adding money to it.
Right, we're not moving anything, we're just using what he already has budgeted.
And it's important to understand that the directors and the departments are accountable, and we don't get into the middle of micromanaging that. So
Right,
that's why I
right.
brought it up. So
Right.
you want it, it's your choice, and it is out of cycle. It's good with me.
Anything else from you, sir?
No, sir.
Any public comment on this item? Ma'am,
I'm just curious, he said $2.
and go ahead and state your name, please.
Sorry, Joy Anderson. He said $2 raise. Does that mean everybody's making the same base pay right now? Or was that gonna mean that some people are getting percentage wise a greater increase than others?
What he is asking for is a $2 an hour across the board raise, so every individual there would receive a $2 an hour raise.
So
Versus a percentage?
the lower paid ones are gonna get a higher
Percentage.
percentage than the higher paid ones. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's not doing a percentage basis.
Harold Frank. I heard you saying that every operator can operate any equipment. And they are all required to have a CDL.
Yes,
So do they all have a CDL, even the ones that do not drive?
well, all my employees presently have CDLs.
Okay.
CDLs, class A and water tank and tanker endorsements.
Because I know of some that only operate equipment and I wonder if they have a CDL or not.
But if I get an emergency situation, I got, all the guys can drive trucks, they can run a backhoe, they can run a grader, they can run the dozer. They can run the roller.
I think, yeah, Harold makes a good point, because in the past, we've had people that are gonna come in and get a CDL and don't, and they've been put on mowing duty.
Long as I'm-
But that's not what you've been doing.
As long as I'm supervisor, the rule is you have to have a CDL to work at Road and Bridge with a tanker endorsement.
And that would include our mechanics as well.
A
wouldn't it?
mechanic too. He's got a CDL. Because he has to test drive the equipment when he works on it or take it out.
So makes sense.
Good.
Well, sir,
What I can say, Matt Miles, what I can say is there's been a huge improvement in the roads in the county. From my perspective, over the last 10 years. It used to be, they'd knock the dash right out of the truck. Driving down it, and now they're like a ball bearing. Indeed, in a lot of respects, they're better than the roads in Denver on the interstate. The dirt roads here. But there's a basic problem with that. And here's what it is. Of course, this is tongue in cheek. These people now run 70 miles an hour down the dirt roads here.
That is a problem. Matter of fact, Vince and I were talking about that in the distant past before, because you do make them good, and then, but it just takes a few, working with the sheriff's office helps a little bit. Put a car out there and once in a while and stop the Texans or the Oklahomans or the other people that are out of state or out of county that come in and forget about that.
So I'd say, stay out there.
And the locals that get, I've been known to abuse that.
but yeah, let's kind of keep it orderly here. You still have the floor. You had another statement you were gonna make. Did you? Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, I thought you were trying to say something else, so, all right.
I'd like to make a comment. This
Okay.
is, okay, this is Lena Rigo. I live off Vermont Road. And I just want to tell you, Scott Camper and his crew has been up here. It's in the best shape it's ever been. Thank you very, very, very much. I fully endorse a pay raise for these guys. That's it.
Thank you, Lynn.
Lynn, thank you for that. Next time, wait for me to call on you, please, sir. All right, go ahead.
So Jim McMahon, the $2 an hour, is that what we're talking about?
Yes,
Typically, how many hours a week?
We work 40 hours in a week.
So what's that equate to during a week? $8?
Yeah.
Okay, just put it in perspective, just trying to see where the dust, settling here, so.
And
I
then
think that's more than fair because the inflation that's taken place. And that is really one of the important things in this valley is those roads. And then snow removal, so.
well, in snow removal, if we do have a typical hard winter,
You
some of the
bet.
guys are 15, 16 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly. So that they earn every penny.
And we start at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, they earn every penny. We need to retain these people.
Yes.
And we need to have some other people maybe, in the wings in case.
I'm the wing.
Yeah. You're only gonna last so long. We gotta be looking forward, like some people say. Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Galen Murdoch, thank you for the work you do. I live on a dirt road and you guys
Thank you.
do an amazing job. My question is, when you look at the pay raise, are you in line with other counties and what they pay? Road and Bridge?
Correct, Lisa, we're 16.5% below average, even with this direct pay raise.
So is it possible maybe in the future that can be addressed and we can start getting?
We're gonna try.
Okay, perfect.
That is something that we're trying to address countywide. It's not just road and bridge.
Okay,
Short answer to your question is,
thank you.
a lot of people need to have wages addressed. That being said, there's only so many dollars in the kitty as well, so. Road and bridge is one of the departments, that are behind. I think countywide, we're behind other counties, so.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Anyone else here in the room?
Is it okay if
You may.
I just want to talk on Vince's behalf. So we've ran these numbers for the last couple of months. Thinking about each employee, what that $2 an hour would do. We've added fringe onto that. So that's Medicare and FICA. That's been put into the equation as well. And I even ran a group with the most, the most costly insurance. If they stay on track, like what we're talking about, they will have extra. They still won't use the rest of their budget for this year, and even if we didn't even raise their salary line for next year's budget, which I'm just saying hypothetically, they would still come in within that amount.
Okay. And while you're speaking, I guess, because I want to ask this question so that we have it out as well. Because one of my questions to Vince is, can you sustain that moving forward? Because a $2 an hour raise now is
Right.
not a $2 an hour raise 5 years from now, because every year that
Right.
any cost of living or any increase that we put on is multiplied by the raise that we do today. And so, and I ask him, so, and I will ask you, as finance, does it look like this is a sustainable?
Yes,
thing?
it does. And not only does it look sustainable, but my concern was, these guys are excited to have a raise. But are they going to be excited if they're short-staffed and working, even though they have the raise? And with seeing the numbers the way we've seen them, he will still be able to hire someone if he chooses to in the future. So it's to me, it was just confirming that it's doable, and they're not going to be pinched in that line.
Yeah, and that's why I asked the question, because it doesn't do any good to give a $2 an hour raise now if you got to cut back later,
Right, exactly.
or lay off the hand, and that was why I had that. Jeremiah Coleman, you have your hand up.
Yes, commissioners, I'd just like to show my support in raise for Road and Bridge, and my reasoning is as a first responding agency, Road and Bridge has helped us above and beyond anything that is really even in their job description. Middle of the night, we call them for water tenders because we have a fire going somewhere. They're always more than happy to get up and go, give us everything they can, plus then go to work right after they're done with us, kind of deal. Past years, they've even showed up to fires with graders and stuff, helping us dig fire lines. Plus, even I think a couple years ago, we buried some of our apparatus out in a hayfield, and they went as far as supplying chains and stuff and equipment to help pull us out. And so they've definitely saved the department, and definitely did a big part in saving the community when they don't need to. It's not their job description. So I just want to show my support in it.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
I've had those same comments from Sheriff's Department, and other agencies as well, about Road and Bridge helping out, so.
And I pointed this out before, it's the most critical function infrastructure wise we have. Yeah, all the tax deemed districts, there's 11 of them in this county, rely on Road and Bridge, as well as all our citizens. So we got to keep them running.
I'll make a motion that we approve the raise that he would wants for his
I'll second that.
employees.
So I do have a motion on the floor to approve the request from Road and Bridge for a $2 an hour across the board raise. Discussion here at the table.
Good.
So, and I know I kind of went out of order. We should have the motion on the floor before I opened it up for public comment. And
Probably
everything,
should have had
but,
the motion before we had discussion.
no harm, no foul, I don't believe. I will ask again then, any other public comment here in the room? Anything online? Jordan.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Chairman. And yeah, I think this is a great move by the BOCC. I think the one thing I'd like to point out, though, is I know there's been discussions, particularly from Mr. Kanda, to cut mill levies across the board in the face of coming across the next tax hike that's probably coming. So I just want to say that when we have local property taxes, this is where we can actually start to get our finances fixed here locally. And I think it's prudent not to lower mill levies for this very action. It gives us more money to pay our guys, get more equipment out in the field. For the first time in probably 10 years, we could actually get the finances sorted out. So I support this action, and I also support not cutting mill levies, because there's a lot more we can do in the next couple of years.
Right, thank you. I'm not seeing anything else. Those in favor then of approving the requested across the board, $2 an hour across the board rates for road and bridge, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you. Guys, thank you.
work.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, go fix that eye.
I'm in the office today. He told me I had to do paperwork, so I'll be in the office.
Hold on.
That's
what happens when you
You had to present it and write it down.
So I'm in the office for a stay long.
Get hurt, you get to do office work.
Don't forget your hat.
No.
And
That lady last year.
yeah, that was.
Came back, said she couldn't find her, but then she came in. Whoever the sent Lisa to get. Right. But I don't know where we didn't have BS though.
Okay.
Not back there.
Let's go ahead and until we have somebody here, then next item is consideration of memorandum of understanding and MOU for the emergency management department. The MOU that we have for approval is different than what Adrian had done. Adrian had done it for other meetings and the like. This one is in regards to during some sort of an emergency for evacuations that she's wanting to have an MOU signed with the Lutheran Church for Lane Hall. And so that is what is before us today. And so
Is that for, maybe just read it probably.
yeah, so memorandum of understanding, this MOU is entered into on this, well, that was written on the 24th, so we will change the date on that. I think maybe my new one might be changed. On this 31st day of August 2023, by the undersigned organizations who wish to collaborate on the use of Lane Hall of the Hope Lutheran Church of West Cliff, Colorado. From number one, parties. The parties to this MOU are Custer County OEM and Hope Lutheran Church. Number two, terms of agreement. The terms of this MOU shall commence on the effective date and shall continue until further notice. Purpose. The purpose of this MOU. And so Hope Lutheran Church and Custer County agreed to work in collaboration for usage of Lang Hall for shelter or check-in of evacuees in the event residents are displaced from their homes. Agreement. Hope Lutheran Church will provide use of Lang Hall to Custer County for evacuation purposes. EOC-OEM will be responsible for returning Lang Hall to the state of order and cleanliness of which it was found prior to occupation. We, the undersigned, agree to the terms and conditions of this MOU, and it is signed by Rick
Parrott.
I was defaulting to Rick Perchbacher, and I knew that wasn't the one on there, so and that is from Hope Lutheran Church. And then it also has a signature line for the county on that MOU. This MOU does not have a monetary amount in it. I do believe that it was stated by Robin. I wish she would be here at the present time, but I believe she stated it would be for $75 a day, but that is not included in this MOU.
Needs to be.
Yeah.
But this isn't a contract, right?
This is
MOU.
just a.
This is
a
just
memorandum of
an
understanding.
agreement that we will work together and we'll figure
Yeah.
out.
Do you have a contract with the, I think
That'll vary. that
there would
cost.
need to be that cost included in something like that. So that the county and Hope Lutheran would all be aware of what that dollar amount is.
Or that there will be a charge, and if it varies with time, we shouldn't have to write a new MOU, the cost go up to make the electricity or whatever to maintain it, so it should be. For whatever the fee is agreed to for a given condition.
And
Excuse me.
so let me ask you a clarifying question then. Are you wanting to have that included in the MOU?
I think it is, there has to be something that says that we are expecting a charge to be, the county will stand for. That MOU is, it's not for free, but that we don't have to specify the specific cost. That can be a statement that generically says it will be charged the appropriate.
So you would probably like to see a line or another, so we have 4 sections here, a 5th section stating
There has to be operating
these
cost,
are-
the
yeah.
operating cost, and whatever they are, to use that space from them.
So let me state something and tell me if it's agreeable. And so it would be item number 5. Lang Hall will be made available by Hope Lutheran Church for a sum agreed upon between
For operating expenses.
for operating expenses. So, and that would be a separate agreement, not.
That could be done, we could delegate that to the OEM to do that for the county. So we don't need to have.
It will be made
meeting.
available for a monetary amount agreed upon between OEM and Lane
Right.
Hall and Hope Lutheran Church. Or would that be something you would be agreeable with?
I could agree with that.
Okay.
Something.
Would you make a motion to that effect?
Yeah, I would move
To
that
amend
we
this
approve it
MOU.
as proposed, and we can, who's gonna rewrite it? Robin will have to get it back to us to sign.
So approve it with the addition of that, and we will sign the.
Sure.
with the addition. And so that is the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so I do have a motion on the floor to amend the MOU that we have in front of us to include an item number 5 stating that Lane Hall will provide these services for a fee to be negotiated between Custer County, OEM, and Hope Lutheran Church. And I suppose we could actually make that, Robin wouldn't have to write that, we could write that up and sign our copy, and then if they would like to sign that.
Sure.
Or not.
We're proving it fixed, it doesn't matter whether we fix
Okay.
it right this minute or
Yeah.
when we get a change.
Okay. Any further discussion on this?
That's right. No,
Public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Nadine Peterson. I'm wondering, I don't know if it's required, but insurance. Proof of insurance provided by whoever's using the hall, is that something that needs to be added to that? In a way.
That's a good question. I do not know the answer to that at the present time. You have. Looks like it's.
I have some thoughts. So Lang Hall will be, it should be insured. So, but then we also have a certificate of liability that would be easy enough to provide for our people. But typically in a property situation, let's say someone were to fall at Lang Hall, Lang Hall really would be responsible for the insurance first, and then it would carry over to our insurance, if that
Right.
makes sense.
it
But-
does, it does.
So, yeah,
Exactly what happens.
but yeah, so we have a certificate of liability that, we could provide if they would like it. Simple enough.
Ma'am.
I'm just curious, did Lang Hall initiate this request to the county, or did the county initiate it to Lang Hall? And then second question is, do we have these kind of agreements with other churches and facilities in the community, or is this the only one that's being set up?
I think Robin initiated this with Lang Hall. Lang Hall's been used by the county for other functions, so I think the natural course was to go down this road with Lang Hall.
In fact, others have. Saddle Club's been used too for emergencies and,
Okay.
and the county's always liable for the people and the activities as well, so.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, and all boards and all volunteers are covered, they are treated as county employees. So if somebody's volunteered to help the public health agency and it's a volunteer, they're covered also. Everybody's covered as an employee. Except the people that are being treated.
Yeah, no, thank you,
Yeah.
because I was really kind of wondering how extensive this kind of
Well,
preparation for the emergency.
And I can speak to that a little bit more. She is reaching out to, as a matter of fact, the Saddle Club as well as other entities in the county and the area. To have agreements in place with them so that we don't have to try to do that at the time of the emergency. The last CES meeting that I was at, she spoke to that, and that is part of her emergency operations plan. I won't tell you the acronym for that because there's an acronym for everything,
It's a CCCPP.
But so this is not the only entity that she is reaching out to.
Okay, thank you.
Let me check on mine. I'm not seeing any hands there. Oh, sorry, I was looking down.
That's okay. For the schools, I just wanted to state that I am extremely impressed with Robin. I don't have her last name in front of me right now, and I don't.
Knappy.
Okay. She's knowledgeable, professional, she's proactive, and she's just appears to me to be doing everything possible to get our county in the position that we need to be preparedness wise should emergency arise. And I, as a citizen, appreciate that.
Good.
Great.
Thank you.
Top notch.
Okay. Those in favor then of approving the MOU with the added amendment to that, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Were you able to get a hold of Christie?
She's not here today.
We will,
No one knew anything other than that.
all righty then. We will not be introduced with Christie then. We had a somewhat of an introduction to her previously, but she wasn't here on that
Right.
night, that date either. So,
Right.
I will try to reach out to her and find out a date, a meeting date that will work with her, and if that's all right with you guys too.
Absolutely.
Maybe we can solidify that and meet her before she's an old hand. Okay. Next item on our agenda is consideration of awarding the engineering contract for the sidewalk project to Baseline Engineering. You were not on board yet when we did have a meeting with Baseline as well as the Colorado Department of Transportation. Baseline had submitted a proposal, and I believe you've gotten that now, for the engineering on this project. And we had that meeting that day, but we did not act upon anything. And Baseline is looking for some sort of an answer from us as well as CDOT on this project, and
So-
that's why it is
so-
on the agenda.
So to get it within the scope of doing the discussion after we have a motion, I move we accept the proposal that Baseline Engineering has submitted for the sidewalk project. I move we award the contract
You
based
award
on-
the,
based on.
okay, I would second that motion.
Let's figure it out.
So I have a motion on the floor to award the engineering contract for the sidewalk project for the county to Baseline Engineering.
So just to get the discussion going, and we'll pitch it over to Lucas. And you, Baseline's worried that we haven't heard from them, but recently, or haven't heard from us, I should say. And are concerned and they're wondering, and we get worrying about price and all that kind of thing. So we need to make a decision is a good thing to do.
If we don't move one way or the other, they're hanging out there waiting on an answer from us. They will probably go ahead and fill their calendar. And if we don't take action, the project doesn't move forward either.
Do we have the money for this engineering part of it? And how long is that engineering good for, with the way the states keeps changing its statutes or its requirements? I hate to engineer it, don't have the money to do the project for 5 years, and in that time things have changed and then we have to spend more money on engineering.
This is a grant. This is paid for by a grant through CDOT.
Okay.
And I do not have that directly in front of me. I believe this is a fully funded grant, correct? So there is no match required by the county
For the engineering.
for this engineering.
Okay.
And this is, at the present time, that's as far as we are on this project, is to the engineering phase. Once it's engineered, we will apply for another grant through CDOT to move forward with the construction part of this. So the only thing that's been addressed thus far is the engineering.
Okay.
And then
The
I'm
proposal for
making
the
an
engineering.
assumption here, and I shouldn't do that because that gets you in trouble. But with CDOT as a partner in this, and they're supplying the grants for this project, and they are on board with it, then I would not think they would pay for the engineering on this project if they didn't plan on going ahead and supporting the project to its fruition.
Okay.
Anything else from you, sir?
No.
How did Baseline get picked?
They submitted this proposal, and in all actuality, they were the only one that submitted the proposal.
Okay.
Timing, the other contractors were tied up,
Okay.
is what I understood.
Engineering contract.
Yeah, couldn't get to it in time to make it timely before snow flying. That's what I believe is
Yes.
part of the issue.
Public comment on this item. Not seeing anything in the room, not seeing anything online. Those in favor then of awarding, of awarding the engineering contract for the sidewalk project to Baseline Engineering, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. I will reach back out to Colorado Department of Transportation. They are the liaison at the present time with Baseline, and let them know of our decision today. And we will move forward with that. Before we move on, this was Commissioner Kanda was the one that was the point man, I guess, for lack of a better term, on this project. So I would ask you gentlemen what your thoughts are on moving forward on that, whether that should fall to Commissioner F or the gentleman from the state reach out to me. I would like to have clear direction on where we're going with this and who would be the one that's dealing with this moving forward.
If we can do it that way. My proposal, after the meeting, at the end of the meeting here, we have to do some realigning of responsibilities and duties anyway. To to distribute the workloads across the managing commissioners that we've got. And so, we may change at that time, or we can wait them, we can, I would, excuse me, one hacking to their turn, wouldn't they? Would like to get that considered on either the next meeting or the second, the first meeting of the month or the second meeting. We can talk about realigning things. You might wait.
So if we're,
Unless I don't think it's gonna matter because this is a holiday. I don't think Baseline's gonna be calling anybody for
no.
between now and then.
So if you want, I will reach back out and let them know our decision and then at a future time, if changes change, then we will let them know that.
Get my point.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Kevin, real quick, do we know, have we received money from that CDOT grant? Has Virginia? received
Not
a
at
check?
this time, and
I don't know.
I will, when I talk to the gentleman at the state, I will ask him what that procedure is, because I'm kind of coming in here without
And we need to know who the point of contact is. See, you got the name and the phone number for the point of contact on that, don't you? Not Baseline, but with CDOT.
Yes, I do.
Would that ever come straight out of CDOT and go straight to Baseline and bypass us?
No.
Okay.
No, there would be a check, typically a wire would be sent into the treasurer's office and then we'll identify what that is. The reason why I'm asking is that now that we've got the go ahead, we'll be having to take money from that, so we need to create a line for it.
Right. And so the way it works,
Welcome in the budget.
just this education, CDOT, whether it's highway or aviation or whatever they've got going. The process is on a grant, the manager for the county would put a request in for whatever the invoice is that they're submitting, whether it's in blocks or whatever it is. And then you go in and you authorize, you put that in, and they CDOT, it has to see the check and it has to see the request or the invoice. And then that takes, then you push that button and then Virginia will get a check.
And the contact from the state of Colorado is Matthew Pettit. And I would have to look up who the gentleman was from Baseline, but I will get in contact with him. And I believe the next step would actually be the negotiations with the county and Baseline for the actual cost. They had that included in this, but we
There's a contract that'll have to be presented.
so before the state would probably send those funds. I will verify that with Matthew. Okay. Did we vote on that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I thought we had, but I thought I'd better check before I moved on. Thank you. That does bring us to a discussion now of the TV repeaters. 3 weeks ago now. Somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe a little longer than that. Channel 11 has been off the air in the valley here. Channel 13 has been off briefly. Road and Bridge has been able to, they've made a couple, 3 trips to Colorado Springs and finally got somebody to work on that. Control unit for Channel 13, it is up and running to the best of my knowledge. Channel 11, the control module for that is completely shot. I reached back out, I've been reaching out, trying to get I'm saying channel 11, channel 13, because that's where they come in on my side of the county. Up here it's 7 and it's KKTV and KRDO. Trying to get them to come back in and take over the repeaters up here for their stations. I've had engineers from both stations up here twice. And everything looks like it's doing really well, and then they go back home to Colorado Springs and things die, they will completely stop responding to emails, phone calls or anything. I did get it from the one from KKTV that they now have word from corporate. The local management is on board. The upper management is not on board. He says they will not spend the money to do that here. He has reached out to sister stations, trying to see if anyone has parts or control module that they're changing out from the VHF to UHF in most locations. So these are VHF units that we have here. And everybody's moving away from that. If he cannot find anything there, we don't have anything to fix it with. Road and Bridge inherited that because Roger Squire had taken that responsibility on years ago. And it naturally fell to Road and Bridge even when Roger left. We do not have the capability. Right now, we can't even find parts. We don't have the capability, the tools, the test equipment. There's a gentleman that is trying to retire very hard in Colorado Springs. It has been the one that they take these items to. He's been finding used parts on eBay to put these units back together.
And he's retired.
And he's retired. They talked him in a couple of weeks ago to working on that other unit. That's not going to keep happening. So I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. I think we've probably all gotten phone calls on this because it is an issue. And because the county had taken this role on, the TV stations are saying it's not their responsibility to do it, it's the county's responsibility. I don't have an answer from Dan yet on that, whether it falls in our purview to have to furnish that, or if it is theirs. We have done it for years, and so at the present time, we're responsible anyway. But moving forward, I would like to have that answer myself so that we might have more leverage with them to get something addressed here, because those repeaters are just, they need replaced.
Right.
And I'll open that up. I'm done
Right,
with
good.
the information part.
Yeah, you're right on the spot on. I'll give you some background for the record. Back in the day when TV first was invented, Art Hibbs, a local guy here, had repaired radios and all that. He took the initiative to put that repeater in to get this back in the 50s to get to reception, because it's a direct line of sight. The mountains all blocked it, so you had to repeat it, bend it in on a different channel, and you can beam it to the valley. In that day, there were like 500 people in the county, not very many. There were a little more than that. But it wasn't a requirement. Since then, things have, and they shook hands, and then one thing led to another, and the county said, we need to get the road up there so Art can get up there and change the tubes, and then the next guy, and then the next. And so pretty soon it was a handshake, and it still is. And it's a contract, a handshake. We are going to do it. That road was built up on that mountain to get up to that repeater. Then things evolved, and now it's a law. Free public television has to be provided, because not everybody can pay the $100 for a wire, online, satellite dish or whatever. And so it is a law that those radio stations or TV stations are required to do it. The county's grown. There are 5,000 people potentially in here or whatever to receive that. And everybody said, well, they all got satellites and stuff like that. Not everybody does. And some of them aren't satisfied paying $200 a month for 3 channels, and they don't care about all the other trash that's on there. So my view is we need to have a meeting with the vice presidents, because the citizens are upset, and I've gotten a lot of calls, and a couple of them have even taken the initiative to go call the technician, the chief engineer, and said, well, Custer County hadn't talked to me because it hasn't gotten that far, and then, or the vice president never bothered to go any further. So we do need to tell them it is real. It's their responsibility. We can decide whether we need to maintain the road for them, and that's not a bad thing to do. That's stuff we do. That is an infrastructure we do provide.
That's our handshake agreement.
That's right. And we could make that formal. We could even write a new contract that says we're gonna do it until you guys get bigger and maybe satellites take or whatever. So I think we need to take the initiative because there are a lot of people here that's all they have and are counting on it. And maybe a lot of people deciding to get rid of their network, and go back to watching that and just go get online and do your streaming on movies a different way. It's a new world.
And I'd speak a little bit again when I had the engineers up there, and I did furnish their numbers, their contact information to everybody that contacted me, because I told them, talk to me, talk to the TV stations themselves. Maybe if, they get plenty of phone calls, maybe it'll help jog them as well. But when they were up here, part of that discussion was because we do have an ISP up on top in that one building as well. They were actually going to bring the signal in over the internet and then send it from there, which would have gave a more reliable signal as well. I mean, they talk good, and part of our agreements, our talks then were, I can't say agreements because we didn't agree to anything. They agreed to go back and talk to their companies. Was that we would make sure that they had access to the towers. That meant if they needed up there and the road needed plowed or graded or whatever, we would furnish that. KKTV has a portable building that they were wanting to bring up that has an AC unit and everything in. One of the issues is that those buildings get extremely hot. And if Vernon was in here, he'd tell you that that's not good for the electronics. This building had that, and we were gonna Road and Bridge had agreed to flatten an area for that. They were talking about replacing the towers and the antennas off of those, the directional antennas. And we were going to dig the trenches for the cable work on that. Road and Bridge was. So we had verbally agreed with them that would be something we would provide for them if they did that. That being said, then it dies. This has been a 2-year thing right now. I think I like your idea of going. I'd like to have confirmation that it is their responsibility, and then we have that in hand when we go, if we went and met with them. In the meantime, people up here don't have channel 11. And
I've heard that 13's hit or miss. And
13's been on and off. And so, that's the only 2 channels up here unless you subscribe to an online service or the satellite service. So,
And we don't have an internet line up to that tower, do we?
I believe it is, I'm trying to think which internet provider it is. Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, so they're bringing the signal in by.
So it would,
wherever they are.
a situation like that would require being able to, it'd be an agreement with them to bring that in on their equipment and then be able to split it out if that was the way things went. Short term, the engineer from KKTV did send out an email to all his sister stations looking to see if there was anything laying on a shelf in one of the other stations that we might use to get this back up online. But it's an issue that's a short-term fix, even if we can do that. These things need fixed, whether it ends up being the county or their TV stations.
So you're gonna you want to personally go visit them, or would you like? What do you think?
If you want, if you want us to go up there, or if you want only one of us to.
Somebody needs it. I don't think it really matters whether it's one or two or who.
Yeah, if it's, I've been working on it for 2 years, but honestly. I get 2 steps forward and then all of a sudden everything goes back to square one. And I would be willing to do it. And if someone else thought they might have a better chance of talking to them and be more effective than myself. I would be open to that, but I am willing to do it. So that I would throw that ball into your guys' court.
What do you think? I'm willing to help or do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the history on it like you do, but
So,
I mean,
you know,
if we need to invite them here, those VPs.
I think that's the first thing to do is give them. They
I'd
can't-
say, hey, we got-
I don't, go to their office. I mean, we can make a call. I don't know.
Yeah. we could invite them here. I don't know if they come.
Maybe we need to pound on their door then,
So that would be the thing.
make an open office.
And we could
Open
do
door
that
policy.
as one of this, or we could set it up and we have a meeting with them, the board of
But we
commissioners,
need to
meeting
both.
with them in their office.
We need to do both, but somebody needs to do it. I don't mind doing it if you want me to do it with you. Right?
If you feel you'd be more
I
effective,
don't know
I'd be
that I
more
am.
than
I'm
willing to
not
let
saying
you.
that at all.
Well, or even as effective as I've been, but you've seen how that's when it's 2 years and they haven't moved forward.
Well,
I finally got an answer. that
I'll make a
indicates
stab
what
at
he
it. How
says.
about that?
I'd
That
be
sounds
willing to
good.
let
And
you
I'll
do that.
grab you to supply.
And I'll forward to you all of my email correspondence with the engineers from both states.
Let me have the phone numbers of the.
The one gentleman is only an email.
You can just forward it to me.
I'll do that after the meeting.
Yeah,
How's
let me do
that?
that.
That way I won't have to. Okay, so that's all I had on those. And unless you guys had anything else.
No, sir. That question.
Joni,
Do we know how many people watch? 11 and 13, like how many people here need? Don't subscribe to their own personal server. I mean, it seems to be old school. I don't know.
There's quite a few. There are, and even if there were 5, it's still federal law.
Okay.
You can't get out of it. At least the TV stations can't. Otherwise, they'd be gone now.
Okay,
They made them keep it open because across the whole US, there's a lot of people that don't get cat or don't want it.
And that's
I do-
part of the whole emergency broadcasting system still today,
Part of
isn't it?
yes,
right.
and I do it myself in Wetmore. But I don't have to rely on these repeaters. Mine's coming off of Cheyenne Mountain.
Okay,
Because I have a direct line of sight to them. And of course, there's plenty of people in that viewing area, so they maintain that one. And that's done by the TV stations.
But you know.
They also maintain one down by Walsenburg. And so there's other smaller communities they do maintain.
Yeah.
But not us.
and my other question was, the radio station has tower, and they're streaming all the way to Canyon, and actually you can hear them down in Ghost Springs. And I don't know if it would it make any effect there?
Different frequencies, different kind of technology.
Okay, sorry.
But they, if it was that easy, they probably would have asked the radio station to do it.
Okay.
The TV stations. I mean.
Yeah.
Yes, since this is required by law, who is paying for the service? Is it, do we?
The TV stations have to pay for the cost of broadcasting, fixing equipment, and their equipment. We as a county, we're doing our best not to be get into a community municipality for furnishing utilities. That's not our job. But there are partnerships that evolve. And this happens to be one, and the road is an important piece to get them up there, and that's a handshake. Now, we can ask them for cost of, operating. That could be a new contract to get the plow in there or whatever.
I've gone after some corporations before with the Better Business Bureau. I don't know if that's something they would handle. Had very good results and pretty fast.
Yeah.
That's a phone call.
That's a phone call.
I had thought about calling up KKTV for their what is their investigating?
Yeah,
I don't know if they'd investigate that one or not.
We get Armstrong on.
So we could call them up for their
That's great.
call for action on channel 11. I think it's 13 investigates on channel 13. So I don't know if that would move it along or not. I had thought of that. What else? Nobody online. Okay, our next item on the agenda is the discussion of the severance payout to Braden Wilson. And I think you.
Yeah, I put it on there because it's a follow-up. It's public disclosure of what's going on. A lot of questions after the last meeting when we did eliminate the county manager's position. When we did that, we didn't authorize paying the severance. That was to follow. And there's a couple reasons that it is important. There's policies that the county has $5,000 or more. You got to have approval. That's a minor one. There's a process. There's practice that's been going on. And Lisa and everybody been doing the right things on normal retirements and people.
Yeah, state required.
But state required things. There was a concern in Lisa's mind, and rightfully so. She came out of the private sector, and there is a requirement to settle within 3 or 4 days, whatever it is.
6 to 24 hours.
Yes, it's quick as you can.
When someone has been terminated.
Right, that's right. Now, but unknown to Lisa, there is a statute in the state constitution that states that that's true in the private sector and other public areas, but not for political subdivisions in the state of Colorado. And so that's an issue that gives us the time to do things correctly. And the only reason I brought that up is because I have a couple questions to ask before I get into it. The package was for $54,735.75, just to stop the rumors going around, whether it's 5,000 or 10 or whatever they are. There's a lot of rumors. People tend to do that. And then the other question is how it's divided. There's PTO, severance pay, sick leave, and vacation leave. And so the first question, I think you've answered it. There was none of that when Braden resigned from being the finance director. There wasn't anything. Was there part of the severance on that, or
No,
that was
no.
due? So when you calculated the PTO leave, is that based just on the 6 months forward or on time that he already had? What was that? based on?
So how it has been operating practice since I've been here, when someone is terminated, whatever their current rate of pay is what you pay them out for. So that was based on the county manager hourly pay.
Okay. And same with the sick leave.
Yes,
So that was for 40 hours for,
you would have had 20 hours of sick time, 120 hours of vacation that he had earned.
in his past job.
Yes, but that all rolls. So it was from finance director since he's been here.
Okay.
Finance, and then, so whatever his current rate of pay was and what he had accrued up until that.
He continued being a county employee, so that makes
Yes.
sense. Okay.
Yes,
That keeps and then the vacation leave is the
Yes.
same.
yes.
Okay, so the grand total is $54,735.75. So my thought is now we can have a discussion on do you pay the whole thing or not. We had that discussion when when we accepted the contract, and it was decided to have it to be a 6-month period. And that's why the $45,000 came up. It was half of $90,000 plus all this other stuff. So given that, then I asked the question to our attorney, given two things that the public isn't aware of, problem. and needs to be, is we are operating still and were under the 2 resolutions that affect how we manage the county. And that's resolution 21.24 that established the managing commissioners formally. Because the state statute sets up the structure of the county, we're structured the way we are by law, with the departments like they are. The only flexibility that are given to the commissioners is to change how you manage the people that directly report to them. The other elected officials have their departments, and the people that are in the county are working for those people directly. Our jobs as commissioners is to support those elected officials with the infrastructure to do their jobs for the citizens. So that being given that, there is a resolution, but that is a law that we did not rescind. So now you have a conflict between a new management structure and the old one that are banging their heads together. And it should have been rescinded, just like we did when, if you recall, the process of trying to hurry through and get a county manager. There was an executive session that I wasn't aware of until I got into it, as you all know. And that was when they discussed, Brady did his presentation, and Tom and Kevin and I watched it. And he recommended he do it, and it was billed as a promotion. And so I was expecting a promotion in the HR finance thing. I didn't expect we were going to change the county structure by law. So that prompted me to take a look at, and once I've heard some kind of, I do a lot of study, and I studied all the laws, and I call a lot of lawyers on it. And that's how I found out about the issue with the difference between how you do an executive. Remember, this is an executive level job, and that the county has a process. The state has processes to hire somebody that's not the normal hiree for a department or other jobs within the department. So it's different by law. So I pulled that law up because we didn't do it, obviously, or we would have had that knowledge in that meeting. When they came out of that, we came out of that meeting and they voted to have immediately hired Brady. That was illegal. So we had to go to the process of rescinding that. So you can't just say, well, okay, I'm just going to start a new resolution and not rescind the old one. So it's sort of, you can see the process is real. So we should have rescinded that resolution. And there's another resolution that also affects the county manager, or the commissioners, that's in effect. So in effect, there's 2 resolutions that we had to rescind. And the other one is the sworn duties and obligations of the county managers, and it references the commissioners in that. So we have to rescind both of those. And both of these are hanging in the hallway in the courthouse. They have been, because and the reason we set up the county manager as a managing it, because when Tom had a problem with Jackie, we had to do something. It was wrong what he did. And Jackie had elected to do it in public, so we had no control on that. It wasn't anybody asking her to do that. That's what she wanted. And so immediately I called up the state CTSI and the lawyers that are available for the county to use on retainer, besides the county attorney himself. And I talked to Clint about it too. Clint was, by the way, laid up, he'd broken his hip. So we had Dan Slater working at that time as all, he volunteered. So the only thing you can do, a commissioner cannot be fired by other commissioners. In the public sector and in the other federal jobs and state jobs, if a person did some of the things that Tom was accused of, and we're still going to go through the rest of that yet on this next lawsuit, you'd have been fired immediately. If something had happened in the HR world, and I know you're familiar with that as well, Lisa. So I asked him, what can you do? What do you do? He said, you can take the power away from the commissioner until they go through training and remedial things, or he resigns or whatever. And that's why we said, all right, I didn't even know it was called powers. Up till then, county commissioners had their points of contact in the departments. That was okay when you had a handshake and a few people, and you knew that Kevin is in charge of road and bridge as a managing commissioner. And if somebody wanted to ask for leave or had an issue to bring to the board for money to change departments, then you would go to he was up to that line guy to decide, can I solve that myself? And if it requires a vote from the commissioners, then you take it to the commission to make the decision. But we tended to, Tom and others, and it's hard to do that because you're used to going to everybody. You wouldn't ask for leave from me if it was somebody in Kevin's line, for example, if you're managing. So you take that authority away from them until they go through the training. So we had to establish it's not a POC. And that's why the statutes allow for the establishment of what you want the commissioner to be doing. You treat them like a vice president in the line, for example. They have authorities, and if you have an issue, you work back and forth. So that's why we set it up. And that's what we're operating under today. And what we were going to show to as the second option is how do you get to where you understand that authority and how you understand the responsibilities of that guy managing those few people underneath you. So that we are going to reinforce that I mentioned before in all hands special meeting. It's just going to be a meeting so we can inform the public and bring those people in to say, here's the things we want to do. Leadership development, training, all those kinds of things. And then this would be on the 13th.
I was just gonna see if you're tying that into the thing on the agenda because it's a severance payout is what.
Yeah, I know it. And that's, but the point is you have to establish that. And I'm pointing out this the importance of what we did, right? So the other issue is, did we break any rules or were there any improprieties in not following the law on the Colorado Open Records Act that establishes the process to hire that executive, because it is a special position. And it was very clear, and I talked to the lawyers about it and Matt as well. And Matt even had mentioned it, or Dan Slater, I should say, that he had recalled that. And so I had asked him, I asked the lawyer for this state, and I asked it.
Get him online?
No. Well,
just so he can hear this as well.
What?
Because you're referencing.
Well, okay, hold on just a second, Ken, because I agree. There's no issue there. But the point is, you have to have a search committee, the public body, and all those things. And we realized that we didn't follow it to the letter. And we did know that there was a timeline of 2 weeks where they wait and bring down the files. So my whole point is I would like to bring on, and I'm not in a position today to vote on anything personally until we get a little more detail on what does that mean, those two resolutions, and did we follow this, and did it cause anything in the process of statutes that might be case law was built around.
Kevin Day, could I get Dan Slater, please?
And that's why I've talked to the CTSI, as well as even Matt Miles in the back over there, who brought it up initially, has the ability to search things. And I asked him to find some things for me as well. It's easier to get.
Hey, Dan, this is Kevin. We're having a discussion here on the severance payout for Mr. Wilson. And I would just wanted to have you online so that if you could speak to anything that might need to be spoken to, because I know Commissioner Cannon said he had talked to you on a couple of items and stuff, and I just wanted to have you online so that we had all the players here that we could.
Okay,
all right.
On loud. Hey,
that's as loud as it gets.
Dan, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Yeah, all I mentioned was that when we first looked at the Colorado Open Records Act, subsection 3.5, that establishes the process by which we had to follow to hire the county manager. You had brought it up in the meeting prior to that there may be an issue, how, there in the back of your mind that there was a 2-week waiting period, for example, before you could hire them after you had the finalist selection. And then you went and you had your opinions on that as well. And so what I'm proposing right now is, I don't know if it's, we have two choices. We could pay out the leave and all that stuff now and not the rest of it, or we can decide not to pay any of it, or we could decide to negotiate, what's the right thing to do pending on. I don't want to do anything illegal. I want to follow the laws. I want to follow the processes, and I want to set it up correctly. And the reason being, because it's a lot of money. And you know, and that's what we're responsible for, is to manage the citizens' money responsibly. And so there's no foul, Lisa, because we have the time to do it. Now, if we want to talk about, that's the discussion I'd like to have, because I would like to go back and come back probably on the second, Matt, let's see, what did Matt, Carl Culver? No, he's not involved in that, so it doesn't matter. What I would like to do is, if Dan, you're available on the second Sunday, or the second meeting of the month, this next month, correct? Is that your day to come up?
Normally it's the first meeting.
Oh, it is?
5th is when I've got it on.
I thought that's right, we switched it last time because he wasn't available on the first one. So I would like to do a little more thought here and get some more input on what we're liable for. Exactly. I know there's a 6-month clause in the contract. Is it valid? And those questions that were brought up by how if we properly implemented the hiring process. Yeah, again, and whether or not we should have rescinded those 2 other resolutions. And Matt had pointed out, I got a copy of that I gave to Matt in the background over there to take a look at if there's any case law that would look at what were the implications of not rescinding something that was in place prior to that. And I also ran that by the CTSI gal that's on call with us as well. Okay. So I would like to have that done, and then have Dan let us know next meeting what our options might be, then that we could consider.
Okay, then I will speak to some of that. The statute that you referenced, that Lisa had been going by, is counties are exempt from that. That means we don't have to follow it. Historically, the county has followed that policy because anyone that has been terminated with the county has been immediately paid out.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned.
That has been the county practice.
That was the practice.
And so it doesn't mean you don't have to follow it. We don't have to follow it, but it doesn't mean we can't follow that policy.
Sure, but that's why
we're exempt.
That's exactly right.
And so that check has been cut. And so I don't know why you would want to ask why we would want to only pay part of that, because the check has been cut.
But it has been stopped, payment's been stopped.
It has not. You do not have authority to stop payment on a check.
Sure.
The only ones, let me finish, the only ones in the county that have authority to stop payment on a check is the treasurer and the assistant treasurer.
That's not my understanding.
And so that check has been cut. There has not been a stop payment on that check. If there were to be a stop payment on that check, I would say it would have taken an action of the board to do that, and then we would have needed to direct the treasurer's office to stop payment on that. No individual, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I do not believe one individual commissioner would have the authority to make a decision like that. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know. There's 2 different questions within that question.
Okay.
The first question is what the arrangement the county has with our financial institution in terms of who has authority to stop a check. And that would be a question for, again, whatever the signing of the card says with the bank, in terms of who can and can't stop a check. With whether one commissioner has the authority to stop payment on a check, absent the full board taking that position, I would think that one commissioner probably doesn't have that authority to do that on his or her own.
Okay, thank you for that. I have been informed by the treasurer's office that the only ones that have authority at the county are Virginia Trujillo and Barbie, the two members of the treasurer's office. So,
Well, given that, but regardless.
okay, well, we're on this discussion,
Yeah, I
so
So that's fine, and even if it had been cut, even if it did get not stopped, that's fine. Because the issue still is valid. It's whether or not we did the right thing legally and what can we do next? Is my view.
and I would say we had a binding contract that was agreed upon by the Board of County Commissioners, albeit by a 2-to-1 vote, that was in place at the time of his termination, which included a 6-month severance. And so I would say we had a legal obligation to pay that out, which was done according to existing county policy. And so we had a legal obligation to make that payment. We had a moral obligation to make that payment, and we had an ethical obligation to make that payment. And
That's fine. I still maintain we did that legally, we screwed up. I really believe that. And on both counts, we should have rescinded that. I don't think that contract's valid. And paying on an invalid contract makes it even worse, I think.
comments, Dan?
Are we in open session or are we in an executive session?
We are in open session, sir.
I think I have previously stated in an executive session my opinion as to legality of that contract. I worry about giving my legal opinion in an open session when that legal opinion could,
Okay.
such a statement could be used in any future litigation in the county.
Okay.
But I repeat, I don't think anybody can hear that. You said that you think you can't tell us your opinion because in fact, if there's a lawsuit that evolves, then it would compromise your ability to defend it.
Well, I think that if I tell you my opinion in an open session, in theory, that opinion could be used against the county if the county were involved in a lawsuit. Because I think at that point I've waived attorney-client privilege as to that opinion.
Okay, and I'll tell you where we are at. We are on an agenda item, which is discussion of severance payout to Braden Wilson. And so it's a discussion item, and it is in open session. It is not in an executive session.
And so.
And I appreciate that, and if the board wants me to give my opinion, knowing that full well that my doing so would possibly waive attorney-client privilege as to anything that I say, I'm happy to give that opinion in an open session. I just don't want to willy-nilly do that without making sure you all understand the impact of my doing
Okay,
so.
so let me have a minute here. I agree with you, Dan. And in no way was I intending to vote on anything today or force anything. All my point is that whether it was check stopped or not, I think the contract, I think I've seen enough evidence in the research that I've done that says we should have rescinded the previous actions. And I know there's case law that supports that. And I think that we didn't follow the law correctly in how we interviewed and how we did the process of selecting the county manager. That's my opinion. And that's why I wanted, and I'm not, at some later date, if it shows more likely that I want to protect this county from some other actions, or we want to make sure the fiduciary responsibilities that we have I'm going to follow it to the nth degree, because that's a lot of money. That if it's not the right thing, and if we're going to continue to do things and let the things in the past be, it's the way it is, it doesn't matter about the letter of the law, we're just going to move forward without an understanding.
And if you're wanting to talk about the process used to hire Braden, that is not part of the discussion of the severance payout. I don't.
Oh, yes, it is.
And I believe that
It is.
Excuse me, this is a conversation up here at the table. It is. And I think that would be something to be put on an agenda
That's correct.
at a later date.
That's
I
absolutely
think
right.
that is going farther than where we need to be on a discussion of the severance payout.
That'll be a part of it, and that'll be a part, and that discussion later date will impact that.
And if you would like to bring that,
And
to
I
the
want to do it
board,
sooner
then we
than
can-
later because time is critical to do it correctly.
Dan will be able to be here, and I would want him to be part of this discussion, and some of that would probably entail an executive session so that he could, I don't believe you were involved, Lucas, at the previous executive session where he had given his legal advice, and I think it would be prudent for you to hear that. I would like to put this on the first Tuesday of next month's agenda, and that would also include an executive session with our county attorney for legal advice.
That's okay, but an executive session is not going to occur until we have a discussion, in my view,
Okay,
of the options, because we have to have something to talk about in an executive session. I want to understand the different things that could have been a lawsuit and support us doing the right thing. Or the wrong thing. We gotta make sure we know that before we go into an exec session to have a discussion on what Dan has to say about it. I think Dan ought to, I want to talk to Dan also to make sure that we have that opportunity to get Dan up to speed. So anyway, I think it's worth it. It's worth it to the citizens of the county to understand what we're doing here. We've never had this happen before. This is a huge amount of money on a county employee. Then we need to make sure we follow through the continuation of until we're satisfied. You know, you got a comment?
Have you seen the money come out of the account?
I don't have that ability,
You don't
the
have that
treasurer's office does, yes.
Okay. And do we know for sure that the check was not stopped and the check moved forward?
to the best of my knowledge, the stop payment did not go through.
But they have not seen it come through either, so. The last I talked to Virginia.
I think it stopped.
We're in a real mess, as commissioners and I know this isn't on the agenda, but I want to apologize because we should have notified the county's employees as soon as we terminated the county manager position. Because I got asked the next day by county employees, hey, is the rumor true? It shouldn't have been a rumor. It should have been a memo immediately to all county employees because of the interaction and because of what happened. So, with your permission, I'll apologize for all three of us because none of us sent the letter out as the Board of Commissioners. And we do need to work as a team together to work through these issues and the differences that we have in opinion. And I'm not a lawyer, so I really have to rely upon Dan Slater and other attorneys out there to guide us as best as possible. But at the end of the day, when I made the decision to vote yes to rescind the county manager position, I was fully aware that I was going to have to pay out that money out of our coffers, out of the citizens' money to Braden Wilson. So what we do beyond this, or where we go beyond this to learn from this situation and to better this county is the biggest thing I have in mind. And that's the most of my thoughts as right now. So turn it back to you, Kevin.
Yep, and we're going to continue to do that.
All right, so I think we will have an agenda item for Tuesday, what is that, the 5th?
Yes, sir.
Tuesday, the 5th. If you would want to have discussion on that, And I will also have an agenda item as an executive session for legal advice, because I think Commissioner F needs to be brought up to speed as well as to some of the things that have transpired, and that needs to take place in that session. Would that be a correct statement in your, you think, Dan?
That's whatever the court wants to do, I'm
Okay.
happy to facilitate.
Because I don't believe that Commissioner F was involved in the prior executive sessions, and now he is involved, and I think that he would need to be brought up to speed as well.
Well, we did have an executive session, I believe, when
We did on the last
voted on the
meeting.
resolution at the last
Okay,
meeting. So, I mean, so I
okay,
think he received some of my thoughts at that point.
okay, my apologies, I had not remembered that, so if that needs to be taken off, I can do that. If I guess in discussions between now and then, we can figure out if we need to have that or not.
So key to that, Dan and Kevin and Lucas here, is we cannot lose sight of the fact we have two other resolutions that are on the books that are affected. That's to manage it a different way than the county manager was, which affects the contract. I want to get the
No,
data.
it doesn't.
Well,
Commissioner, with all due respect, you gotta stop saying that, because you know it's not true.
no, that's not true. Well,
Yeah.
It's not just that, from what I've found, Dan, and I'll forward it to you.
That might be a good deal for, you can have some legal advice on that.
That's exactly what I want.
Okay.
Exactly.
And so we'll discuss that in our executive session for legal advice on Tuesday, the 5th. Do we have further discussion on the severance payout then?
Unless there's other comments.
I believe discussion, considerations, we have public comment on the discussion here. I believe that's at the table.
I don't know. That's up to you. The chairman of the board.
I
You
believe
can
so.
be either way.
They'll have a public comment session here where they will have an opportunity to comment there on that as well. So the discussion here, I believe, would be at the table.
I'm done talking about that.
Okay.
I have no more to add.
Any additional items of business here?
No, other than I mentioned it already. Excuse me. We need to do, as we continue down the path, we do need to talk about whether we get a new HR position or not. We've got to make sure we get the job description for the PIO/BOCC admin. Discuss that on the next meeting so we can post it as quick as we can. With the right.
I know that right now, she is planning on posting for an assistant this coming week.
That's an assistant to finance. It's not a BOCC admin.
It's no, not correct. It's an HR finance, not just finance. So, but yeah,
So we have to have that discussion. We got to line out the jobs.
So for the BOCC admin, yes, that needs to be posted as quick as we can as well.
Yeah, and then we can have the discussion on whether we want to go with an HR and make it part of it or whatever.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Man.
but I wanted everyone to be aware she is planning on posting for that HR finance assistant this coming week.
That's up to her.
Because I thought I heard you say possibly doing the reorganization, but she is planning on posting because
Yeah, I
she
thought
needs another person in that
That's
office.
very
maybe better wait then if we are really serious about.
So,
She needs to know what the job description is, really. It's an
Well-
HR or is it not?
Well, and I think if we revisit this in a few months, maybe after the budget, maybe after the first of the year. With the implementation of appointments and documentations and seeing if the influx, if it slows down. I think we should definitely revisit it.
So so the immediate needs are, we definitely need somebody to help you get through budget.
I need some, yes.
Okay, is there somebody that works for a different department that can help her through that, because I think we need to have a workshop to decide if we're gonna have another HR director, if we're gonna separate out finance, HR, and then what's gonna align underneath them, or our admin and what their position is gonna include, is gonna do. It, until we have that decided, we are popping up, you know, and putting out.
That's right, and it won't be the right description if you.
Well,
just-
I
if we
would
did,
think
if
that
we
in
did a new, if we did a finance assistant. Because that's, someone is gonna have to learn how to work the software that we have.
So regardless of whether there's a separate HR, you're saying you still need a finance assistant, and that's
It's a big-
legit.
Yes,
That's
it's a
your-
good job. Mhm,
And
So given that, then it's a huger job if it's HR too.
mhm.
So
And
that's
our biggest duty to the citizens is the fiduciary, so.
That's right.
Supporting her in managing this money, citizens' money.
Mhm.
See, that may be the way to do this then, is if it's a finance only piece, that would be the right thing to do, because we
Well,
can
it-
always decide where HR fits, because you're gonna
Well,
have to do that if
right.
if we decide to keep it,
Right,
but
right.
not the finance system.
And frankly, this person when I started in this position, I started as it was an HR finance assistant. However, 95% of all that I did was finance, it just aided finance. So it would be easy enough to take that job description and just take the HR piece out of it. It's a huge
That's the way it should
confidentiality
be.
issue as well.
Absolutely.
And you want to make sure that someone has the capacity.
That way, we're
to
not
understand, you know.
waiting. And we don't have to, I think that's
And
right,
it
that's your
went,
choice.
yeah, and then we could still revisit the restructuring, you know, after the first
Sure.
year or whenever, but, yeah, the
Or as
immediate
soon
need is the daily
process that would
onslaught.
take some time anyway. I don't think it's something you do overnight.
Right.
So that's good, I mean, it's your choice.
And I think I'll speak to your deal real quick and then I'll let Dan get off the line as well. As far as somebody to help her in the budget process. Part of that is she was able to, I think she was planning on reaching out to Sam DiNardo from the auditing company.
Yeah,
And has other resources to be able to help her with that.
we'll get the ball rolling.
At this time, from what I heard today, it's your report.
Okay. No.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I'm back good.
Okay.
You don't have to wait on your finance.
Okay.
From my,
Dan, I think we're probably done here. We've got just finishing up the additional items here and then public comment, and then we're gonna be out of here. So if you would like to get off, that's fine.
All right, thank you very much.
And
Thank
do
you
have
for
the money,
visiting
Dan.
with us.
You do have the money to do.
Yes, I
it.
do.
Okay. Put him off before he kept clock was ticking. So, but I wanted everybody to be aware of that. That she was getting ready to post that. I think she told us that earlier, but just wanted to reiterate. Any other additional items of business?
No, sir. I'm pretty good.
None here.
Okay. And we have public comment. Go ahead, sir.
We done with public comment on the Braden Wilson situation?
This is now an open public comment, so you have one time for 3 minutes.
Anybody else? You want me to go? I'll go ahead. I'll go.
All right,
Couple
go ahead.
observations. One, this board owes a fiduciary duty to us, the citizens. That's the first thing. Second thing, I heard that we think we do owe Mr. Wilson some money from the past. We don't know exactly how much. So I'll address that right now. If we think we do, we need to sit down and figure out what it is and cut him a check. Because we owe it, we owe it. Third, this situation with 24 hours before the election, results were posted. When everyone pretty much knew that Mr. Flower had lost, and that thing was rushed through, I would suggest was inappropriate for this very simple reason. The court had to go through the election to begin with and order that the recall went forward. The same judge, most likely that did that, is going to hear this newest thing if there's any litigation over it. Who knows what's gonna happen there, but the procedures weren't followed in connection with the recall. And if there was anything that was missed in connection with the Wilson situation, I would suggest if there was a problem with the executive session, it wasn't properly announced, anything probably tainted the entire procedure. And I think I heard, well, we always paid them out in the past, so that's what we're gonna do now. So what I would ask is that you figure out what you owe him for the past and pay him. And then you sit down and figure out if all the procedures were followed in connection with the contract, because you owe that duty to us. If you miss something, I would suggest that your signature on that contract is a nullity. And I would suggest that this commission go ahead and stop that check. I would ask that as a citizen and pay him what we owe him, and then figure out if the procedures were followed properly on the back end with the contract. That's it. Because if that contract's a nullity, we want to know that. We're entitled to know that. That's all I ask. Very simple.
Thank you. Harold.
Harold Frank. Does every county employee have to get the same rights for 6 months pay after they get fired?
No,
No, so you just mentioned ethical and moral obligations. And you work out a deal like that a day before the decision that you already made, that already was made by the voters, which was stretched out by the county clerk for another day, so you could make a decision like that. If you don't call that unethical and immoral, then I don't know what unethical and immoral is. You totally overstepped your boundaries. And I don't think to just say illegal, I don't think anything about that was legal, to be honest. However, you twist it or bend it. And I'm totally disappointed of you, Kevin Day. I voted for you. And I declared my confidence in you when you got into that office, and you have totally misrepresented us. You have not represented the voters. And when I wrote you numerous emails about some things where I disagreed with you, you never even felt once to respond to that. And that I will hold against you. Yeah. You are my precinct representative. You're the commissioner for my precinct. You don't find it necessary to answer to any inquiries. So don't talk about moral or other obligations. That's all I have.
thank you.
Joni Lehman again. Obviously, differences of opinion in here, and I disagree. But I would like to say that I hope moving forward, seeing that you're dealing with something that some of you think was not legal, some of you feel confident that it was legal. Some of you, I'm assuming, and this isn't for you, Commissioner Ed, because you weren't involved, but I think that going back, what was it, 6-9 months ago, when you started talking about a county manager, you had plenty of time to come up with this stuff. And now we're hearing about it after the fact, and you think it's illegal. You are comfortable that it's not. Did you ever share your legal findings with each other? And the lawyers, do they validate one or the other? I mean, to me, it's a nightmare. And as leaders, it's embarrassing for me as a citizen of this county.
Thank you.
Yeah, James Gilbert again. I would like to request, and this meeting and all future meetings, that when either the commissioners or the audience refers to the voters as us, they refer to them in the singular, because Mr. Frank has no commonality with what I think. Therefore, he cannot use the plural. He has to talk about his own opinions. Kevin, you're doing a great job. Bill, you're making stuff up. You can hear from the lawyer, for God's sake. So let's just knock this off. The rescinding of his money is now nothing but revenge and vindictiveness. So stop it. Just stop it. Just get it on, get it done. Give him the money you contracted for and take it on the chin. Bill, you don't have any fiduciary sense. You're the one that voted to give the paper to the other paper because you didn't like what they published. That would have cost the county $40,000 a year. Just because you don't like what they publish. And that, of course, is violation of free speech. So, you know, I mean, this is all bull. Yeah, I'm calling BS on you all.
Thank you. Ma'am.
Again, Joy Anderson. I've heard a lot of both sides. And coming in as somebody who doesn't know all the details of both sides' positions, I really want to know what the attorney's going to tell you. I really want to know the legal opinion on this. I would like to see the check stopped until that happens. I'm in so many court cases myself that I know what it's like to try to collect money from somebody who's already received it when you find out they shouldn't have received it. If we owe him from his past position, I agree. Let's get him the money he needs for that. But for this new thing that was approved and is being questioned, I really think the most prudent thing is to have your legal counsel figure out, was it legal and what we should do from here forward, and some way to bring that, his opinion, to the public's attention so they can put this stuff to rest. Because right now it just sounds like Canada against Day. And I know you represent different people in this county, but it really pisses me off that the people who have the expertise to answer this and clarify it, well, now we have here, they have to be in an executive session that we can't be a part of. And no, I want to know, was it okay? And where do we go from here? And you can't just say, let's just forget about it and roll on. That taints everything moving forward. So we have to have answers.
Thank you.
Jim McMahon, the word bizarre comes to my mind, Kevin, with your behavior. You could have waited. You could have waited a day instead of blowing our money. You could have waited a day. Kelly was there. I asked her, how long we got to wait? Because Tom's gone. The new commissioner's gone. You had a fiduciary responsibility to me. To me. Just so that's singular.
You're addressing the board.
You're right.
Thanks.
And I gotta let him know, so he doesn't get antsy. I have some questions that have to be answered. And if that money's already gone and Braden's off in Alaska fishing, that's fine. I love it, because it opens the door for you. For really bad behavior. Who was on the search committee? Who put the search committee together? These are questions I need from you as soon as I can. When was the search committee formed? I have a whole list of questions for you. Not the attorney. The attorney, nothing to do here. You.
Send them to me and I'll get you an answer.
And how long will this take to get the procedure that you followed, you and Tom followed in order to produce the contract and hire Brady, okay? Knowing that he could be fired in a few days. Do you see where we're at with this? Can you feel that? Do you understand what's going on here?
I know exactly what's going on here.
So if you know something else that's happening in the future and you're making a bizarre decision such as you did, can you let us know what's coming down the pike? Is there something that we don't know that would cause this kind of behavior? Because to perhaps below 60 grand when you could have waited, that just seems terribly bizarre to me. Terrible. And you took an oath. The oath is the other big thing. And you pledge allegiance and you give prayer. But I don't know if I could have said it any better than her. Your moral and ethical decision-making was not acceptable. It's absolutely. But if you have an underlying reason why you pushed that through, knowing that this could happen, could I please have it? Can I have that? Can I have that today? Why did you do that?
I've given it to you in 2 or 3 meetings previous, and it doesn't do any good to reiterate it at this point because it falls on deaf ears, and that's all I'm gonna say.
I didn't hear it.
I'm sorry.
So you're not gonna tell me why you made that
This is
decision,
not a
when
give
you
and
did it
take.
and
This is
how
a
you did it?
public comment, and you're now at 3:23. Jeff,
Mr. Lucas,
Yes, sir.
this man here seems to know which way you were gonna vote on this issue.
Possibly.
Did he know that?
I didn't know nothing.
You just stated it.
The possibility was
Okay.
right in front of it.
this is not a, you're addressing the board. You're
Yes,
not
sir.
talking.
Yes, sir.
You know, you're addressing the board.
I just asked Mr. Lucas if this fella knew which way you were voting.
He had a 50-50 chance of deciding whether there was
Exactly,
of what I
exactly,
could have gone.
Yep.
Just like any other normal citizen.
exactly.
Pretty big risk for 50.
You're
grand.
not on the floor. Are you done, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you,
you.
sir. Anyone else? Anyone up online? Jordan Hedberg.
Yeah, thanks a lot. This is Jordan with the Tribune. This is just a public comment to the board in general, but I'm gonna summarize. I just got done reading the Sandy de Cristo Sentinel, the e-edition, and I'm gonna summarize what Bill Candace angling at here, but he won't say in so many words. He is trying to say the contract, the original contract with the way the process went forward with Braden Wilson was done bad enough that it voided the contract and you need to claw back the money in the severance package. So essentially, he's getting, frankly, legal advice from Mr. Matt Miles, who should know better as an attorney in Florida, not to be giving legal advice. But the whole idea here is how do we find holes in the contract process? And that way we could claw back the severance package from Braden Wilson. So that's what Bill's trying to say. That's what's already written in the Sentinel. So let's just be upfront and forward about it, which is you're trying to get that money back from Braden for whatever reason you feel like you need to do that. Thanks.
Thank you. Lynn, go ahead, sir.
Okay, I think the discussion that's taken place really underscores the need for the 3 commissioners to get together and to document exactly the facts of what happened in this whole scenario with the county manager. The facts, the public deserves to know the facts as well as the legality. And I would recommend that you do more than one attorney, even if you've got to pay for it, because the public, we have a fiduciary right to know exactly what happened and that you did it correctly. You should not be afraid to do that. You have a fiduciary responsibility to the county. And this means all three of you need to get together and you need to sign an agree. You need to sign a document that states the facts of exactly what happened and how it happened. And did you do it legally? And if not, what you're going to do to rectify it. And I don't think there's any excuse not to do that. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Don't see anything else online.
No, 15 seconds.
I'm gonna hold it to the one time for 15 minutes, so thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna make one last statement then, Kevin.
All right,
Because
sure.
I agree. Facts matter, and the facts are on record. They're all in the minutes of all the meetings that have happened. And the facts are, the laws are the laws, and the fact that I am motivated only to make sure we're doing the right thing and following the laws. And I'm excited about getting this into the other, any lawyers that want to look at it. The tools that are there, they're there to find out the facts, how the facts impact what we did here, impact what we did with the county manager. And so, and there's no other reason that I'm doing it for, period. I care about what's right.
Thanks, Bill.
Do you have anything before we adjourn?
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Thank you. Sorry. Is it okay to ask a question?
Yes, I have not closed the public comment, so go ahead.
Nadine Peterson. Based on what the group has said here, I'm wondering, would you be willing to have a committee, a citizen committee appointed or set up, you volunteer, and to find out what happened and what is going to happen?
You are more than welcome to form a committee and see.
Okay.
I don't think that needs to be an action of this board. That is, you're right, and there's nothing to keep you from doing that at all, and I would welcome that.
So like Freedom of Information Act would
Yeah,
apply to
yes.
It applies to everybody. You can get anything you want.
Good job, Nadine.
Yes. Go ahead.
Joni Wilcox. And I have to say, as a citizen and a taxpayer, I do agree with Nat Miles said about the check. Since the check, we're not sure if it's stopped or not. I don't see any reason to stop payment on that check, revisit what should be done, and cut another check for the correct amount. To me, that seems logical and legal.
Thank you. Been up.
Can we get it on the agenda for next week for the committee to report to you guys?
They can come and they're welcome to be on public comment.
There's gonna be a discussion,
So-
with all the facts, wherever they come from.
It's already compiled, ready to go.
All right. That is our last item of business. I